Interesting fake. It worked. It's a touchdown to Ben Sims. Just love the poise of this young quarterback.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor wins the tip. And Meyer launches and buries one to start it. And the Bears on top.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Brody, design roll.
Extension, catch made, touchdown, Xavier Hutchinson.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
It'll be first and goal for the Hawkeyes. More customary role for Pollard now. Lead blocker. And there goes Tyler Goodson. He's into the end zone for a touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. All three of us back in studio. It's kind of during that time of the summer when we're in and out, and I will be here today and tomorrow. Then I'm headed to Florida to go see my three brothers, and it will be out for a little bit of that time. Also, a note, early next week, we are doing some reconstruction in the studio. And so that could affect our shows Monday, Tuesday, and maybe Wednesday of next week. So just hoping that you stay tuned for that. The app is still being rebuilt, and you can listen live online. You could also watch or listen to us, of course, on 365 Sports YouTube. What was the most exciting thing you did, if anything, over the weekend? I went to a movie. I don't go to movies. I went to a movie. In fact, I text Craig on the way home. I went to go see Top Gun Maverick. Paul, you were, I don't know if in the same studio or not, or theater, but it was absolutely, I saw the first one 30-something years ago. I thought they did a great job.
It was one of the best summer blockbusters I've seen in a long time. And it's a sequel to something that was 35 years ago, and they didn't do the silly thing of like bring up random cameos that had no point to the story. It was excellent. The dogfight scenes are amazing. It's say what you will about Tom Cruise being in a dangerous religious cult, but the guy knows how to make a movie.
Yeah, he does. Craig, you going to go watch it at some point, you think?
Yeah, I'm sure I will at some point, yeah.
It really was good. The special effects and how they were able to weave in and out of a movie 36 years ago, to me, is pretty amazing without it becoming the main part or the theme, but it was neat. It was almost as if you needed to maybe watch the first one before you go watch the new one, but that remains to be seen what you want. So, well, it was great. I thought it was great, and I'm not one that goes to a movie. The thing that blew me away the most is the theaters today. This is the Cinemark.
Yeah,
it's as if you could go to the movie theater. There could be a movie on, and you could lay back and relax and almost take a nap because of the way things are. I haven't been to many of them, so that was amazing to watch that movie, and I thought it was great. Now, Baylor is looking for a new baseball coach. That story came down yesterday, I guess about 11 o'clock yesterday morning. Brian Etheridge of our site, Levi Carraway, Jack McKenzie. Brian said he got a text at about 10:48. It popped early yesterday or late yesterday morning. I was actually walking off the golf course when it did. So they're looking for a new coach. Mac Rhodes, who normally joins us on Tuesdays, will be with us Friday this week, headed to Big 12 governance meetings. But we do have Iowa State AD Jamie Pollard today, who will join us at 4. Not surprised whatsoever. Resigned, stepped down, fired, and then given the opportunity. Whatever the case and scenario it was, not surprised there has become too much apathy in that program.
Yeah, and you've got to get you start with the students, like before you get donors involved, because you got to think long term. So right now, for a decade, and that's not. I mean, it does include the times that he did get in the NCAA tournament, but for a decade at Baylor baseball, there has been student apathy. Well, that's a generation of students who will one day be the guys who give you money for things, or the people who give you money for things that don't have any kind of enthusiasm or good college memories for baseball. I mean, it's stuck in the mud. And, Coach Rod was very well liked, and he did a good job, but he didn't do a good enough job. And the last 3 years have been very stagnant, and, COVID really hit them hard. I understand that, but, sometimes you do have to make a change.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other programs making changes, too, in baseball. I mean, they're far from the only one. We've seen a rash of jobs open up for one reason or another here in the last few days. So, I mean, you got to get in at some point, and this wasn't something they could sit there and slow play and take their time and then just hope that a good baseball coach was available in a few weeks from now when they decided. They clearly had it in mind before probably the season ended that this was the route that was going to be taken, because I think Steve Rodriguez realized, I'll get ahead of this. I'll go ahead and just step down myself, because why go into an exit meeting with Mack Rhoades and sit there and toil over what next year looks like and all that if you already know pretty much what's what? And I think everybody involved pretty much knew this was the end of the road. They gave themselves a flyer of a chance when they made the Big 12 tournament, but they did so as the 8th seed. They were the last team into the tournament. They shouldn't have been, by the skin of their teeth, the last team in the tournament. They should have won some games prior to that ensured that they were in there before that final weekend, but nevertheless, there they were, and they win the first game, and they get what they needed to get in there, and then they proceed to lose the next 2 games in that series. And then they proceed to get into the Big 12 tournament and go 0-2, including a blowout loss, with TCU and then Oklahoma State beating up on them pretty good. So, I mean, there's just – I keep using the word, and after this story's over with, I'll stop using the word juice. But, I mean, I've been saying for weeks now there's been no juice with this program. The apathy is at an all-time high. They're not competitive in a league where you look around and there's a bunch of competitive teams that are all enjoying baseball season right now, and Baylor was just never even in the mix. Like, it never even felt like baseball season around here because people were so apathetic to it. So, it's a tough deal anytime you have to make a change. I think a lot of people were really big fans of Steve Rodriguez, the person, and at times the coach as well. But I just think that the direction they're going, and with the bar where it is, they needed to make something happen, and they needed a change, and so change has come.
Mack Rhoades again will join Craig and Paul Friday, and so that's with that. And by then he'll also be off the Big 12 governance meetings, by the way, going on in Dallas. I did reach out to Steve Rodriguez yesterday. I believe it was around 12 or 2 or whatever, sometime early in the afternoon. He texted me late last night saying he just didn't feel like the timing was right or appropriate to be a part of the show today. So it is his opportunity and also his decision. He did not want to be a part of it, and I can understand that as well. I did, and I have seen some of the names, Dallas Baptist, Louisiana Tech, and just throwing out some other schools that have coaches that might be of interest. Mack Rhoades is one that usually comes up with a name that a lot of people don't even have on their radar. I do know the local name is a flavor in Mitch Thompson, whose team was beaten in the semifinals in the championship elimination bracket yesterday in Grand Junction, Colorado. There's no question in my mind that if, in fact, they wanted to talk to him, he would listen. That doesn't mean they will, and that doesn't mean that will happen. But that's something that I think you have to at least pick the brain and maybe ask him about what he thinks he can do. And who knows? Again, Mack Rhoades. Matt Rule was under the radar. Dave Aranda, not so much, but then kind of was as well, right? And same thing with Nicky Collin when he hired those particular coaches.
Yeah, it's a shame that, it didn't end on a better note, but, I mean, it is what it is. This happens all the time, and I think, again, he felt it as much as they probably felt it, and everybody's better off for it. 7 great years, not always great in terms of the record or the end result, but there were some good moments in there. I mean, they definitely won some contests that were celebrated at the time, and it wasn't all bad for 7 seasons by any means, but, they had a rash of injuries that are just really quite unexplainable when they piled up the way that they did. And, the COVID year, I understand how much that probably twisted the path that they were on, but that's what happened. So, I mean, you can say, well, if it wasn't for COVID and it wasn't for this injury, and I mean, we could do that with every job when somebody gets fired. So it was good. It was better than good at times, but here as of late, it was very under the bar that I think has been set around Baylor athletics. So.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, speaking of Dave Aranda, he's going to be in Houston tonight. We're going to talk to Neil Farmer. He's the executive director of the Touchdown Club of Houston about that speaking event tonight in Houston. He'll join us today, our first guest at 3:45. Scott Drew today will join us at 5:20. Baylor and Gonzaga will play next season or this upcoming season in a non-conference game, and we'll have Scott on today at 5:20. Also, Scott Docterman, he's with the athletic.com. He wrote a story yesterday about how the SEC and the Big Ten are trying to juggle their future schedules and how do they keep the rivalries intact. And there may be some rivalries that most people don't know about if you're not a part of a school or two that need to be kept intact and how they're trying to juggle that as well. So we'll get into that a little bit with you and also in the chat room. And the text line is 254-339-1122.
One of the things, and Craig and I talked about it the other day, that's interesting, the SEC is talking about doing this. It looks like they're going to do a 9-game schedule, and they're pretending like they came up with the idea of a 9-game schedule.
Okay.
Because the Big 12's been doing it.
All right. You're right. Here's a quote from Nick Saban today on Brett McMurphy and other timelines, but he's the first one I saw. I've always been for playing more conference games from God. Eliminating some of these great games that fans, players, supporters are not interested in. What is the best model? This is from Saban. That's the issue. Are other conferences going to play more conference games? Pac-12, Big 10, Big 12. They play 9. And I don't know if Saban was just, again, but no, there already are 3 of the 5 Power 5 conferences who play 9 games. I think Saban probably knows that, but he was also just throwing that out there as part of the question as they're meeting in Destin, Florida.
The ACC is trying to figure out a way to play 8, which I think would be bad for them because they're not a great league and they need to throw. I mean, if they can throw a 9th game in there against, that way you don't have UNC and Wake Forest scheduling each other in a non-con game. Like, you need to play those things so you don't create apathy.
Does Notre Dame in that conference count as a conference game?
No.
Okay.
But
they have a certain amount. I remember early on when we started the YouTube channel when someone was trying to say, no, they're a part of the conference, but they play a conference schedule in a way, but not a part of it. Their games, wins or losses, don't count for whoever they play that's a part of the ACC through thick and thin. So that was one of the quotes from Nick Saban. Also, earlier today, he was asked about the Jimbo Fisher feud. And he said this: I didn't say anybody did anything wrong. I've said everything I'm going to say about this. I have no problem with Jimbo. I have no problem with Jimbo at all. And so he has spoken. He never said that A&M was cheating, wink, wink. He just made the comment that all their players had been bought by NIL, all their recruits and signees.
I mean, sure, if that's what people want to buy, I guess. I think he made it very clear who he was talking about. I think he mentioned Jackson State very clearly. I think he mentioned Texas A&M clearly. I think he made his point, and I understand now why he is attempting to walk it back or to dilute that big opinion that got people riled up. But no, you were very clearly talking about people specifically and throwing out accusations on what they were doing in NIL. So that's, I guess that's all he could really say, I suppose. And as far as the like Jimbo thing, I'm sure he likes him to some extent, and I'm sure Jimbo likes him to some extent, and I'm sure behind the scenes they'll FU each other all day as well, over that same conversation if they brush by each other in the hallways out of the camera frames and away from microphones. But yeah, I mean, they're politicking. I mean, that's what he's doing. He's politicking. He's a politician / football coach, and so that's politicking right there is all that is.
Oklahoma and Texas have been part of the SEC schedule format discussions. They are not in Destin. They do not have representation there. Part of the quote, to be a part of those conversations, Oklahoma and Texas do not have reps in Destin for the SEC meetings. Meanwhile, the Big 12 is converging in Dallas, as I mentioned, for the governance meetings, presidents, ADs, women's senior athletic advisors, and among others, will be in Dallas, including Mack Rhodes, Dr. Linda Livingstone, among some others.
It's going to be a weird 2 years for Texas to not have their opinion matter in 2 conferences.
Well, but you say that.
I'm sure it does.
They have been part of the SEC schedule format discussions.
Yeah, but they're not there, so it's like they're going to come in, and that's what's weird to me is Texas is going to come in with Oklahoma in a couple years, and they're going to be like, hey, by the way, we decided this without you. I hope you got the email. And Texas is going to have to just sit on that. So, and right now in the Big 12, I mean, they're involved in things, but,
We also know that they're kicked out of the room when other things are discussed.
Yeah.
They're kind of a team, a group of teams with, dual allegiances at the moment and really kind of sitting in no man's land. Now, I know where they're headed is very promising and there's a bright future there, so I'm not sure that they're really all that worried about it. But, yeah, they're kind of a team whose opinion doesn't really matter all that much right now. And I'm sure some would argue that, but I don't care to because what I mean in that is that the Big 12 is making decisions that have nothing to do really with OU and Texas. At this point, they're worried about their future, and yes, they're worried about the present as well and how all this will exit, but they're having to worry about that because they're having to wait on Oklahoma and Texas to leave. So they're also making plans for after they leave. And then, on the SEC side of things, I'm very interested to see how all that political stuff works out for them over there. The big boy throwing the weight around the room like they were for 2 decades in the Big 12 is just not going to fly the same in that conference. And I'm sure that they'll go in a bit more reserved and know that too, and know that they can't just walk in there, I'm Chris Del Conte, Texas AD. Well, there's like 10 other ADs who couldn't give 2 S's less that he's the Texas AD. And so that's going to be different, but I'm sure they're going to, be very well prepared for that, and they'll pick their spots. And before you know it, I'm sure they'll be involved in some power play of some sort because that's just their history. But they got a bright future. But right now, for those 2 teams, it's just kind of a weird place where you're in, but you're out of 2 different conferences all at the same time.
By the way, when Nebraska joined the Big Ten, I don't know for sure, and this could be just because I've forgotten with my age, but I'm not so sure their first year didn't have like Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, among everyone else in their division. They loaded it up, and that was like the every other whatever year. The SEC with Oklahoma and Texas, would that not be interesting if somehow they drew Alabama because they're maybe in the same division if they have them, or pods, but they won't be in the same pod. But then you add Georgia, Florida, LSU, which would be, you would think, in one of their or both their pods. Just it'll be interesting to see how that.
But why would the SEC do that? That would be against what they should be doing. I understand, like from our perspective, you'd want to see them.
I thought it would be funny if they did.
It'd be funny. It'd also be the dumbest business move the SEC could make because they're not trying to make these 2 teams look like they're not a part of the elite. They want them very much to come in and be part of their headliner of school. So, they would be funny from a Big 12 fan's perspective, but from the SEC perspective, that wouldn't.
Yeah, and I think the fan bases at Texas and Oklahoma said, game on. They'd love to see those games. They really would.
It also kind of works out for Texas and Oklahoma that they're leaving at a time where the entire idea of scheduling is changing.
No, absolutely.
So they wouldn't get dealt that hand because it's not probably possible anymore, the way that the schedule is going to rotate. So, I mean, and like with Nebraska, the Big Ten throws them that schedule because they had those rules. They're stuck with that schedule for several years.
And maybe, I don't know.
Where it's going to be like that. Well, the new way scheduling looks like where it's going to be, 3-5-5 or 3-6-6, whatever you want to say, those scheduling models, you're not going to have that schedule every year because it'll be 1 year on, 1 year off.
And the thing about Nebraska, and you would hope if you're Texas and Oklahoma, there was a time when that schedule could have been that way and they would have been fine. Doesn't mean they would have run the table, but there was a time when they would have played that schedule and been able to hang with it. Speaking again of the baseball, we talked about Steve Rodriguez out at Baylor. 5 teams in the Big 12 make it. Oklahoma State and Texas will host regionals. Texas Tech's going to play in Statesboro. Texas A&M is hosting their regional, and TCU is there with their former coach at A&M. And Oklahoma is on the road in Blacksburg, in Florida, in Gainesville against Florida. And they'll open up against number 3 Liberty. Let me tell you this about UT. Their softball teams in the College World Series, baseball teams hosting a regional, and there was some debate about whether they should have or not. You can go on and on about that. Oklahoma won the tournament, and TCU won the regular season. They had, I think, won the national title in women's tennis. Their track and field both going just a bucket load of people to the nationals. There's another couple of sports that they're involved with. They're having one. Hell, they won that Directors Cup or whatever it is. I think they're going to have a chance to do it again. Speaking of which, Iowa State's having their best year in the Directors Cup, and we'll have their AD, Jamie Pollard, on today at 4 o'clock. Now, there's one other note. John Calipari has hired KT Turner, associate head coach at Oklahoma, formerly at Texas and SMU, hell of a recruiter. He will now be their third assistant at Kentucky under John Calipari. In charge of player development specialist, there has to be a tie-in there somewhere. Remember, was it Louisville or who it was that hired somebody to be a part of their department? I can't remember who it was, to offset. Is a former player's father, I think it was. But there's constant little movement there when it comes to coaching staffs in much of what's going on as well. All right, it's 320, 254-339-1122 is the number to call. You got a little cold there, by the way, a little nasal?
A little bit, yeah.
You're under the weather from maybe too many cold ones around the pool?
No. I mean, it happened before then. So.
Okay. Craig, what did you do this weekend besides just chill out?
Not much. Just try to enjoy some downtime and enjoy time away from sports, quite frankly, and just, stuff outside of this whole thing. So, Yeah, it was nice to do, and I look forward to doing some more of it very soon.
All right, and hopefully everybody has a chance to do that. Garrett Ross runs the mothership. He is no longer in the high chair. In fact, I sent Garrett a text at the end of last week, even though I was out for a couple of days. So how did it go?
I think it went well. It's definitely a work in progress. There's a lot to learn. But, yeah, I'm pretty confident and comfortable with how it's going.
Is there any difference in what you did in radio? Because technically we're also broadcasting audio, but is there any difference in what you're having to learn? Is it more simplistic? Is it more complicated than doing this with video also a part of it than what you've done before?
I think it's kind of hit and miss. I think for me, the biggest difference is learning the camera angles and learning to get the right move and make the when you're going over to get a single shot compared to I think that's the biggest part. That's something that I'm going to have to continue to grow and work on. But overall, there's a lot of similarities, which I think makes the transition easier having that experience prior.
Jack, actually very complimentary of you. I text Jack, what was it, Friday evening or whatever, how'd it go? And he said it was great. He did it all by himself. He's got going. Levi Carraway, by the way, covers Baylor baseball, is in studio with us. He'll join us at 4:20 on the coaching change at Baylor. And then, of course, Emery Winter is here putting things up everywhere left and right so you can watch it when you want on demand as well. All right, when we come back, more to get to, 254-339-1122. And then don't forget at 3:45, Neil Farmer from the Touchdown Club of Houston, where tonight Dave Aranda of Baylor will speak. And then we have a lot to get to after that as well. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 months with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Summer driving is coming. Save now at Richard Carr's Summer is Coming savings event. Find summer savings like a 2015 GMC Sierra 2500 HD for $318 a month, or 2020 Buick Encore for $288 a month, or get a 2015 Cadillac SRX for $212 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Chris on the chat room. Thank you for watching, listening, whatever you do with us. We appreciate it. When the new schools join the Big 12 and Oklahoma and Texas leave, who do you think will be the biggest rivals for Baylor? Would it be Houston, Texas Tech, or TCU? I think there's no question TCU and Tech. There's a very fierce rivalry there. TCU for sure. Texas Tech and Iowa State are kind of like angry rivals.
Yeah, but Texas Tech now has a former Baylor coach, and there's been a lot of trash talk over the last few months. And, yeah, I think TCU and Tech are probably
Houston will develop into one because Houston, I think, will come in, and I think they will do well. And of course, that's an old Southwest Conference rivalry as well.
Yeah, it'll be the Texas schools and BYU. I think we've talked about this a few times now, and not to say that you should have caught that when we did or anything, but yeah, we've talked about this 2-3 times and fall back to the same answers. The Texas schools just make sense. There's already rivalries there, and with Houston, there's a little bit of bad blood. Just because of the canceled football game a couple years back and the fact that Houston's been on the outside looking in, and they not liked that feeling, and now they're going to be in a big conference like they've been wanting for a long time, and will have their opportunity to prove to everybody why they belong there. But on Texas Tech, Grayson and I had this little back and forth today. We had somebody ask us about what are our expectations for the Big 12 next year and something along those lines. And somebody, obviously Joey McGuire is very hit or miss on the Baylor boards, depending on who you're reading. Some people feel like he didn't leave the right way. Some people are thrilled for him and they're best buddies, and they want nothing but success for him. But the point being, somebody had kind of a sarcastic question about, once Joey McGuire wins 11 games this year, will it be disappointing that they didn't win 12? Because everybody's like so hyped up right now. And Grayson said, well, I think if they make a bowl game, that would be a good year. And I said, make a bowl game? Like, they made a bowl game last year and they fired their head coach. Like, they made the bowl game with an interim head coach. So he and I disagreed on that. What do you guys think for year one for Joey McGuire and Texas Tech? I'm saying bowl game is bare minimum because you've already done that. And it's not like you lost, like, your quarterback and your O-line. I mean, you lost, like, Dawson Deaton and you lost Eric Ezenkama, and look, those are good players, but not irreplaceable by any stretch of the imagination. You got your entire quarterback room back. You've got, pretty good number of players back just in general on both sides. Not trying to raise the expectations too high, but I just thought, like, make it a bowl game. That should be, like, bare minimum, of course.
Yeah, that should be their floor.
Exactly.
They did not fire Matt Wells because they wanted to get to a bowl game.
No, they need to be.
He was already there, as Craig mentioned.
They need to be 8-4 to me. I mean, like, that's what they need to be.
I think what they have to do is get to 8-9 win. Let's say 8-4, but I do think 8-9. But I also think they have to win a couple of games against those who move the needle.
Well, his point was, okay, they play Houston and NC State in the non-conference. Okay, those are losable games. They're also winnable games. Like, they could very easily go 3-0 as quickly as they could.
They could have beat Houston last year.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't even bring that up with him. I was thinking it. I was just trying to move on eventually. But, yeah, I mean, they should have beaten Houston. Or they should and could very well beat Houston. I mean, Houston will have the same thing to say as well. But so that game's a toss-up. The NC State one, okay. And then I get they got to play the Big 12, but if you can get like 2 wins in your non-conference, if not 3, then yeah, you very easily should be able to win 3 or 4 games in the Big 12. I mean, Kansas is one. There's one for you. So, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of surprised by his response that like the goal should be making a bowl game. It's like, you did that with an interim last year. So I was just curious y'all's thoughts on that.
By the way, I agree with you. I think that Joey McGuire surely thinks more than that as well.
I'm not thinking 9-10 wins either. I'm just saying that should be the floor.
Robert Beekler, by the way, asked if, what about Oklahoma State as a Baylor rival? I think that's coming into play, and it's been that way. There's been some great games, some very important things on the line, including, of course, the way it ended last year, and also that game that Oklahoma State won in Stillwater. 254-339-1122.
Yeah, I think that could be a great rivalry. I'd be all for that.
I think that'll be great for the conference if those two could lead the way. I'm not saying others can either, but help lead the way to replace the elite of the logos and also the history and tradition of Texas, Oklahoma. They can't replace them, but if they play like they did last year, they damn sure can at least start that momentum.
All right, let's go to the phones. Chris in Missouri, thanks for your call. You're on Sick'em 365 Radio.
Hey, guys. It's a little bit late, but the Jordan Addison move from Pitt to USC, I just heard that USC with Lincoln Riley added 3 5-stars. So he went to a team that already had 3, an embarrassment of riches with 3 5-stars. What is he hoping to gain? I mean, I don't understand. He's the Blitnikoff Award winner. He would have started at Pitt with a brand new wide receiver and been the focus of the offense. And now he's going somewhere where they have 3 of the most talented wide receivers in the nation. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I don't know what Lincoln Riley was thinking or why that was even necessary to go after. Thanks, guys.
Well, it's necessary to go after him because he's the Blitnikoff winner. No matter all the guys that he brought in, 5-star, transfer, whatever, freshmen or transfers, Jordan Addison's better than all of them. So Jordan Addison automatically goes to the top of the queue when it comes to that. He's their number 1 receiver today, no matter who else is already there waiting on him.
They had a kid that also transferred from Oklahoma. They had a commit that already, I don't think he had signed, obviously, with Oklahoma, but he's going there as well, high-level player. They've got some weapons, but Addison's the best wide receiver in college football for the most part last year based on the award he won.
Yeah, I mean, we know that some teams were at least trying to pursue Xavier Worthy. I wouldn't have been surprised at all if USC was one of those as well. I just think that they're trying to be the best team they can possibly be, and if you can get the best receiver in college football, like they said, it doesn't really matter what rankings that guys have next to their names. They haven't won a Blitnikoff Award, so I don't even know what Jordan Addison was ranked in high school. I don't remember his recruitment at all, but I'm sure it wasn't a 5-star. So, there's guys that are a little bit underrated that end up turning into, better players, and guys that are rated very highly that we see bust all the time, left and right. I just think that it's a no-brainer from the standpoint of you brought in one of the best players in the entire country, and you're a better team as a result of it. And it's not really, and Jordan Addison, I think what he saw was playing in an electric offense, playing with Caleb Williams, playing for millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands at the very least, living in Los Angeles versus living in Pittsburgh. I think it's pretty clear what he was thinking as far as, closing out his career down there at SC. So, yeah, I mean, it's not that much of a head-scratcher when you really think about it. USC got better, and Jordan Addison's life got better in the end.
In the end, it's going to also come down to, no matter how many weapons you have, can you protect them to have a chance to get the ball to them, and also can you, again, be good at some point on defense where you don't have to win 45-40 every single week. Michael Davis, Texas Tech fan, has a much harder schedule. I'm a Tech fan. I'll be happy with 7 regular season wins in year 1 of Joey. Also, he said NC State and Houston non-conference schedule this year while installing a new system. And then finally this Blackwind. You got a high school coach in his first year in 8-4. Wow. We mentioned, and Craig did, they didn't hire Joey McGuire. They didn't fire Matt Wells because they wanted to keep going 6-6. They felt like that might have been his ceiling. They want more than that. So that's why the Joey McGuire hire to bring in what they hope will be better recruiting classes and talent.
And I balked a little bit when you guys said 8-9 win. Like, I'm not going that far. I'm just saying that getting 6 wins, I'm not looking at that as like a goal. Like, that should be without even saying it. I don't even think you should have to say, oh, we should make a bowl game. Like, I just think that should be a foregone conclusion. So to that question, it's like, yeah, I think they can be better than 6 wins. Now, 7 wins is only 1 more, but I think they can win 7 games. I think they could possibly win 8. I would not want to go beyond that, and I wouldn't pick 8. I'd pick more like 7. My whole thing was just, if they don't make a bowl game, I would be surprised by that, even with the changes and all of that. I mean, look at their roster. Who have they really lost? I mean, like I mentioned, Deaton, Eason Common, a few guys here and there, but nobody that you go like, wow, they have a massive void now. They've basically gotten player after player through the transfer portal. You made all these big hires on the coordinator spots and your assistant coaches. I mean, why wouldn't you feel like you can win 6 or 7 games in year 1?
By the way, I want to go back to Jordan Addison real quick. Chris asked what was he thinking because he's a Biletnikoff winner and going there. A lot of people think like you want a Biletnikoff, so how much can you get better? But they showed me a lot of improvements to do within my game and how I need to get better and how I need to maximize my game. So that's Jordan Addison's thinking. That's right from the horse's mouth.
That's a quote from him. That's what he's saying, and you got to believe what he's saying, even if there might be more involved in that, and that's fine. Michael said 6 wins is not the goal, but I think my TTU, Texas Tech friends, minimum for fans to keep the optimism with the new staff.
Yeah, and I'd be curious to hear Tech fans' perspective. It was just a random combo that wasn't even really a conversation. It was a little back and forth that we got into. So, that's just 2 outsiders trying to predict what, the gauge might be. But, yeah, by all means, those in Lubbock and those Red Raiders fans, I would love to hear what you're expecting. Because right now it's just all positive. It's all, hype for next season. And so with all this excitement, I just think that they're not doing all this just to simply fill butts and seats and just convince people to come. I think that's going to happen regardless because it's Tech. But I think they feel like they're going to probably have a pretty good team here in year number 1. But to what extent? Yeah, I'm not going crazy with 8 or 9 wins right out of the gate.
I do know this, that if any of us would have said 5 or 4 or 5 wins, then if you're a Texas Tech fan, you'd probably have had your feelings hurt. So I think 7-5 is a good start.
Yeah.
Joey McGuire would say more than that. Others might as well. I do think 6-6 at least gets them bowl eligible. To continue that, what you don't want to do is step backwards. But guess what? Matt Rule, under different circumstances, and Dave Aranda, under unique circumstances, both started backwards and then built forward. And so who knows what Joey McGuire and Texas Tech will do. It's great to have you on the chat room discussing it as well. From Juan, is a Houston fan. By the way, this is actually from Lee Buttercup. I tell my Tech friends that getting a great athletic program starts at the business school. Billionaires at Baylor and Oklahoma State, etc., have led to our titles. Houston has Fertitta, so you all are on your way. And Juan, Houston fan, it does seem to follow when you have big-time business people come back to invest heavily in their university to put it on the map. I hope it works out for us as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly that's in, but Tech does have that guy, whatever his name is, that we heard all about during the Joey McGuire hire and then all the donations he was given. I forget his name, but he's a big donor and was like an oil guy who or something in that general vicinity. That made big bucks off of selling his business a few years back, and a younger guy, like Cody something or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, like he's their version of that. He's not Fertitta level, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong on that too, but yeah, they've got some good boosters that are clearly spending some money right now, and Houston does have a lot going forward as well. Fertitta in particular has really helped raise their profile and facilities and things like that, and I think they're kind of I don't know about a sleeping giant, but I do think they're a little bit of a potential sleeping giant once they do get that Big 12 representation going here in the next couple of years.
Cody Campbell is the one you're talking about, who owns sold 71,000 acres. This is from 5 years ago, of Permian Basin mineral rights for $2.8 billion. He's one of the names that was mentioned in this story as well. And then Sellers is another name that's also a part of it, as far as from an article in the Amarillo Globe News a few years back. All right, tonight Dave Aranda's in Houston. We'll speak to the Touchdown Club of Houston. You've had Steve Sarkisian there. You've had other coaches who were there. Joey McGuire will be there, I think, in a month or so. Tonight, Dave Aranda's. There's names of coaches. They bring it in. They also have some great awards, including even at the end of the year awards when it comes to high school football in the Houston area as well. So Neil Farmer runs the Touchdown Club of Houston. I reached out to him yesterday. I said, Dave Aranda's there tomorrow night. Would he be available? And so he'll join us on that coming up here in just a moment. Hope you're excited. As excited as Adam Batchelor, a good Iowa State fan who's here in Waco, to hear from Jamie Pollard, the Iowa State Director of Athletics. And they're having a good year when it comes to various athletics, but also he's a part of the NCAA Men's Basketball Committee. He is he's the chair of the Big 12. He's also the president of NACDA, which is one of the athletic department type deals. He's also, there's a couple. He's also pretty good buddies with Mac Rose, Baylor's director of athletics, who, of course, joins us on Tuesday this week, will be on Friday. Coming up next, Neil Farmer, Touchdown Club of Houston on Dave Aranda speaking there tonight. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. I get on occasion, because we order Marco's quite a bit for the studio, and I'll get an email from them. Hey, you get this off, or this percentage off, or here's $10 off. It never fails. They market themselves incredibly well, and we appreciate that because they market themselves on this show as well. And in Waco, Texas alone, there are 5 Marco's Pizza locations. There's one in China Spring, one in Woodway, one in Hewitt, one in Robinson, and one in Belmead. Basically a circle around the entire city of Waco. The Pepperoni Magnifico is an incredibly delicious pizza. We like the thin crust all meat. And, of course, on top of whatever pizza they have, and if you go to Marcos.com, you can get all sorts of different discounts based on, for example, Pep Mag for the Pepperoni Magnifico, get a little bit off. 3 topping pizzas, get a little bit off. There's certain code words you can use, hashtags as well. And they have the wings, they have sandwiches, and they have salads, and they have drinks of what you want. Marco's Pizza, Bob Mock, the owner, does an incredible job. Over 1,000 stores around the United States. Marcos.com.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Tonight in Houston, Baylor football coach Dave Aranda will speak at the Touchdown Club of Houston. Lots of Baylor fans, of course, alums, boosters will be there. And to listen to him after the great year they had, their best year ever in football, Neil Farmer, Executive Director of the Touchdown Club of Houston, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Neil, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. You guys have some amazing guests, and there's no question, coaches, etc. Give us an idea, first of all, for those that don't know. And I know there's various awards you do, but what is the mission statement of the Touchdown Club of Houston?
Okay, yeah. First, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Second, the mission statement is to promote football on the high school, college, and pro levels in Greater Houston. So one of the things we do is we have a weight room project. We put weights into inner city schools. We try to do 5 weight rooms a year, and I believe we've done 48 since 2001. And one story from that, we not only do them for the football teams, but we let all athletes use them, or we put no parameters on it. We just give them to the school. And one year we gave them to Westbury over in the Bel Air area, and their girls track team had a 4x100 squad that was pretty good, but they credited the use of the weight to become state champs. So not only do I think that we're helping boys and girls, but we're helping kids level the playing field. And there's some kids, they may not be academically able to go to college, but we're helping them get bigger, stronger, better, so they can go to college through athletics. So that's one of the things that we do.
So you've got Coach Aranda speaking tonight. What are you looking forward to most? Have you heard him speak before? Have you got a reading list prepared? Because he's probably going to throw out like Oprah's book club for you guys.
Yeah, he spoke last year. He was very good, very thorough, very intense. I enjoyed listening to him when he laid out things. There were no holds barred. He said what he thought, and I guess a thing that we have that nobody else has in the state, I think, is that we get the media there, and so it's going to be Baylor Day in the Houston sports media for the next 24 hours, and I think that's another thing that people like to do to come to Houston and talk to our group.
Have you sensed any more anticipation level hearing him speak this time around, given the season that Baylor's coming off of and the fact that it seems like Aranda, personality-wise, has opened up a bit these last few months?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've got I started the Baylor event, a little background on it. I grew up in Abilene, and my seventh grade Texas history teacher and football coach was Art Brau's dad, Tim. So I've known Art since then. So I talked to him when he became the coach of Baylor, and that's how we got the event started. And it's kind of slow at first, but we built it up into something really special. So I still keep in touch since that first time with about 10, 15 people who come to our events every year, and they talk to me. I guess it's being from Abilene, you learn the gift of gab because, there's nothing else to do up there. But it's I do anticipate a lot of enthusiasm and electricity in the room tonight when he speaks.
Neil, there's no question, Craig brought this up, that how Dave Aranda himself has grown, not only as a football coach, but also much more comfortable as being a head coach and doesn't like the limelight, but has gotten to be really, really good in front of a microphone, especially if you can pay attention enough to understand sometimes what he's saying. And I mean that because he's very much, you hear about this deep thinker. He's got these things that analogies that he goes to. Did you notice that the first time you heard him last year?
I'd have to say yes. He was, what's a good word? He was stunted, I guess, as opposed to say, Jimbo Fisher, who comes in, takes a breath, and then doesn't stop for 20 minutes. Aranda is probably just the opposite. Very measured, very clear, very thoughtful, and he looks straight at the person he's talking to. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking to him. And then he came in December to our high school awards dinner where we give out High School Player of the Year on offense and defense. And he promised me he'll be back again this year. And it's just, it's really, what do you call it, the it factor? No, I think he's got that it factor like Rule had, like Art had. I think Baylor hit another home run on this hire.
Neil Farmer, Touchdown Club of Houston, with us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
What is the reaction for the people who see him for the first time? Because he doesn't give rah-rah speeches. And that's what a lot of coaches, and you go to a lot of these dinners and people give a rah-rah speech and you walk out feeling pretty good. But I've never felt that way about Dave Aranda.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because he's following Sarkisian from UT and Pittman from Arkansas. And they both are, I won't say rah-rah, but everybody left the room ready to go hit somebody, and on a football field, of course. But I think you're right. I think he's more cerebral. I think he's more, looking at the crowd. He's not going to make something up. He's going to be straightforward. But I think he's more intense, but in a softer way, where you don't have to strain to listen to what he's saying or wade through what he says. He's going to tell you what he thinks, and he's not the most dynamic, but I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him last year.
I think the fact that they're winning, what Baylor did in year 2 under Dave Aranda, also makes people want to listen to him even more. If he was struggling again the next year like he did the first year, then I think people realize that this guy's got something special, along with the others you've had there as well. Let me ask you this about Houston. You know about the Big 12. They join, in fact, as early as next summer with what they're trying to do to get back into a Power 5 conference, which I think Houston's earned that opportunity. What's the excitement level there, if you don't mind, about what Houston's going to be doing?
Oh, yeah. The University of Houston has built up their facilities. I think their football stadium is still smallish, but Fertitta Center is A+. The basketball team, or men's basketball team, is doing great. Football, they just had one bad quarter, basically, against Texas Tech last year, or they would have been undefeated going into the conference championship matchup. And I see something similar this year because they've got a bunch of transfers in, and I feel like the coaching that goes on over there is excellent. What else? I think they brought in a bunch of skilled people, and I think they're gonna average more than 20 points a game. I think they'll be exciting.
All right. So Neil, is it 7:00 tonight? Is that correct? Is it the Omni, or where's it at? The Westin or the Omni? Where's it at?
Yeah, 7 p.m. at the Omni Galleria. The address is 4 Riverway, and just look for the Black Swans. They've got black swans over there that I've never seen before.
If there's a Baylor fan or someone who wants to hear from Dave Aranda, can they still get a ticket at the door?
Yes, we've had a sudden rush, but I've got about 10, maybe 15 seats left.
Okay.
So, yes, come on out. It's $50 a pop, which I think is a good deal. But we keep things about $50 because we have a lot of high school events, and we want the high school parents to be able to attend. So, yeah, we've got room.
All right, Neil, thanks for your time. Good luck. Enjoy tonight. That's Neil Farmer, the Touchdown Club of Houston. Dave Aranda will speak there. And as he said many others, including other coaches in the Big 12 and around the state of Texas in college football and the SEC as well. Neil Farmer, Touchdown Club. They do a great job. At the end of the year, you have whatever newspaper or whatever else, but they have an incredible high school football awards type banquet, or the player of the year in the city of Houston. Imagine with all the talent they have in the city of Houston, when you're named, like, for example, the Houston Touchdown Club Player of the Year. That's incredible. They do a great job. And that's the case, I guess, in most every region, but the city of Houston alone is fantastic. When we come back, he's the athletic director at Iowa State. He's on his way, if not already, in Dallas, as they have their Big 12 governance meetings that start in Dallas. Jamie Pollard will join us next. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. PioneerBoys.com on the website, PioneerBoys.com, and Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Since 1943, they have been delivering incredible product, pipe, steel, metal. Unbelievable when it comes to what they have, when it comes to product. And then on top of that, they don't just say customer service. That truly is what they've been built from, because they build things and they build customer service. A lot of people who have been clients of theirs from back in the day, generations of families, they still depend on Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Through whatever goes on with the distribution issues we've dealt with around the world the last 2 or 3 years, they can deliver for you. And because it's heavy product, they will deliver literally the product to you wherever it's a residential or commercial site, and of course unload it for you if you need that as well. 1943, they opened up their doors. They're building a brand new facility in Waco, and they have a facility as well, a business in Bryan. It's Pioneer Steel and Pipe, Pioneer Boys, since 1943.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302. too.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Cody, design roll. Extension, catch made, touchdown, Xavier Hutchinson.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Chairman of the Big 12 ADs, president of the National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics, men's basketball committee, 3rd year in a 5-year term, athletic director, director of athletics at Iowa State. Jamie Pollard joins us. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Jamie, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. With the Big 12 governance meetings about to begin, what's the difference between something that goes on this week compared to other Big 12 meetings? Is this more the administration part of it or also what?
Well, the biggest difference is this is the opportunity for the directors of athletics to meet with our president. So we get to meet with the board. But we also have our faculty athletics reps here and our senior women's administrators. So it's more administrative. We met with the coaches back in the early part of May, but the big part of this meeting is that we get an opportunity to be in front of all of our presidents.
When you look at where the conference is today compared to July of last year at the end of where they were, after the story with Texas and Oklahoma, are you sometimes, I don't think say thrilled, but blown away at how quickly things have turned back in favor of the Big 12?
Absolutely. Commissioner Bowlesby deserves a ton of credit for getting the ship righted fairly quickly and allowed us to be able to see a pathway forward. And it's been just really exciting to be able to have 4 new members joining the league that their staff, their coaches, their fan bases are all just ecstatic to be in the Big 12. And that's just a pleasant feeling because, as you know, you've covered this for years. It always just felt like there was always something going on in the Big 12. And it's just really refreshing to have 4 fan bases and institutions that couldn't be more pleased to be joining the Big 12.
When did you feel that the teams were unified as opposed to divided when all that went down last summer? Because as soon as you hear those things, you've got this window of like, well, I wonder what everybody else is doing and where their interest and loyalties will lie when it comes down to what the future holds for the conference.
Well, I'm a realist, and so I always approach that process. And part of it, quite frankly, I was the only president or AD that was there last time that was still here. And so I used to joke with my colleagues and say, I still have, the calluses on my back from how that felt. What changed it for I believe, was the day the Pac-12 announced they weren't going to expand. Because prior to that, everybody was kind of on pins and needles, and I get it. We all knew that we needed to stick together where there would be strength in numbers. But at the same time, I understand if somebody had an opportunity somewhere else to just shore up their future, why wouldn't they do that? And the day the Pac-12 announced they weren't expanding, it wasn't 3 days later that our game plan was set and Commissioner Bowlesby went and implemented it, and we were rolling.
Jamie, Commissioner Bowlesby obviously stepping down here soon. You guys are in the midst of, going through a process of trying to find the next commissioner. Did you feel like the timing played out right, that his kind of final deal, if you will, was making sure the conference was on solid footing? And now as there's this new era where so many things are changing, does it feel like the timing's perfect to welcome in somebody new in that leadership role?
Well, I'd first say, our industry needs more Bob Bowlesbys than less. So there is a part of me that's sad and disappointed that Bob's not going to be at the table, because he is somebody for all of us over the years. It's a thankless job, yet at the same time, he always did it with integrity. He cares about student athletes. And most importantly, from the director of athletics standpoint, he was one of us. So he understood the issues we all deal with on our campus. At the same time, there's an end to all of our times in leadership, and he had no intentions to going beyond his current contract. And so for him to step aside at this point in time so that we can tackle the big issues that we have in front of us, which is onboarding the 4 new members, offboarding the 2 outgoing members, and solidifying our television future, it's tough to leave in the middle of that. So I think what he did is he got the 4 new members lined up, and then now's the time to hand off the baton to the next person to take it from here.
When do you think that the 2 outgoing members, I know what's being said, do you think there's any chance that they could be leaving before 2025? And would that be best for the Big 12 if they did?
Well, that's a real loaded question, because if we've learned anything through all of this, and I'll even go back to the last time we went through this back in 2010-12, you can say something today and it could change tomorrow.
Yep.
So what I would say is anything can always happen. It doesn't feel like they're going to leave before then. There are a lot of challenges for them to leave. Some of them being financial, others being some other issues. That's not to say that there couldn't be something worked out, but to my understanding, they are in through the duration. And to say whether there's an advantage or disadvantage, I could cite both. It would just depend on the particular situation. My gut tells me the only way they're really leaving early is if a television partner wants to negotiate that with an opportunity to use that to help the Big 12 solidify their television, our television deal.
Mm-hmm.
Absent that, I just don't see it happening. But I've been wrong on this many a time.
But there's no way that they're going to be able to walk out the door, if they walk out the door early, without giving a nice, stiff, thick check to the rest of those in the conference, right?
Well, what the challenge is there's 2 things. There's bylaws that specify what a dollar amount would be for breaking the bylaw. But then there's the grant of rights, and there's not a dollar of value assigned to that grant of rights. And quite frankly, that grant of rights was put in place by our television partners and the Oklahoma General Counsel because the television partners didn't want to be negotiate a new deal with the Big 12, and then then a school leaves and goes to another conference, and then that conference renegotiates, and they've kind of negotiated against themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the grant of rights, the ACC has them, the Big 12 has them, the SEC has them. So to pierce it in this case really would pierce it everywhere. And so it's just not something that you can just say, well, we're going to break. Because if the grant of rights isn't any good in the Big 12, then it's not good in the ACC. And then what does that mean for Florida State and Clemson? And ultimately, what does that mean for the ESPN with the ACC network? And so there's just a lot of issues that go beyond, well, there's an $80 million bylaw requirement. And so I don't think it's just that simple. Yet, the television partners could come to the table and say, hey, let's just move on for everybody's sake. And here's what we would do in order to make that happen. That that could be a different story, but right now that's not on the table.
What do you think is once governance comes into understanding, whatever that turns out being, and I guess we'll have more understanding, here in the coming months and weeks. But what do you think is the next biggest thing for college athletics to wrap their arms around after governance?
Wow, that's a tough one for me because governance is just so all-encompassing. Because, for example, the plan on the table from some of the Big Ten athletics directors to move football to the college football playoff, that sounds simple because it's just a statement, but the backfilling of all of what that would require, and then what does that mean for basketball, and what does that mean for other sports? So, the governance structure could be solved in a way that creates other issues, or it could be just solved with, well, here's another set of NCAA parameters that are coming out of the transformation committee. And if that happens, then I think the next big challenge will be, well, really what happens with the college football playoff? Because there's so much money involved in that particular situation that it really could drive what the future looks like. And I say that with this lens. You don't have to go back very far in history to watch how this has played out before. The NAIA was basically made obsolete by the creation of the NCAA. And the AIWA, which I believe, whatever that acronym was, which was Women's Athletics, was deemed obsolete by the creation of the NAIA. And so, you don't have to really spend a lot of time connecting the dots to say, if college football breaks away and, pick your organization, but let's say it's the College Football, Association, you don't have to, let your mind go very far to say that could be the end of the NCAA, just like the NCAA made basically the NAIA obsolete. So it'll be real interesting just to see how this all plays out.
Jamie, how much different is your day scheduled in terms of what you spend time on now because of NIL, because of transfer portal, because of governance, because of all these things versus, let's say, even a couple of years ago?
Well, probably the most amount of time is just spent on trying to decipher what's fact and what's not. There's personally the NIL and pay for play at Iowa State University hasn't really caused us a whole lot of consternation, other than your head's always on a swivel because there's these rampant rumors of everything that's supposedly happening or not happening. And quite frankly, at Iowa State, we've got a great set of coaches that have been with us for a while, much like Baylor does. And they're grounded in great culture. Mac's got a great culture at Baylor. And the coaches are able to trade on what they do really well, which is develop athletes and build trust and help young men and young women prepare for life after sports. And they do it extremely well, and we do it extremely well. And that's what I think we're trying to be focused on. At the same time, there's just all this noise that can be a distraction, but you got to let it not be a distraction.
Jamie, when you meet tomorrow, or when the meetings occur this week, and whether it's this one or the ones that was back in Scottsdale, whatever it is, can you try to describe the room, what UT and Oklahoma are allowed to be a part of or not? Are they is it like a mediation where you guys are meeting and then you go into another room and explain to them what's been said?
No, they've been in it as full members. They've been in everything. They were in Phoenix. They were in probably 95% The only thing that they left the room for was when we talked about future branding, which it just didn't make any sense to have them in the room and wasting their time on that part of it. No, but we also had the new members with us in Phoenix, and we're going to have the new members with us this week, which was also a different dynamic for everybody in the room. So, the gist of it, actually, what I would tell you how Phoenix was, and especially because we had the coaches with us in Phoenix, it actually was refreshing because, all these rumors that are out there about this school's doing that and this school's doing that, it was great to be in the room and realize all of us are having those same issues and challenges and concerns. And, I think what's happened, much like a lot of things in life, we're led to believe that the 1% is the 99%. And when you're in the 99%, sometimes without being in a room with others, you tend to start thinking you are the 1%. And then you go to the meeting and you realize, no, all of us are in the same boat. And it's never as bad or as good as we all think it is.
I saw your tweets over the weekend about the NCAA, the various qualifiers of the regional meets and all that. And I saw your notes about a couple of different races that the NCAA ruled one way or the other. And I know you weren't happy about it, but I want to get into that because are they listening at all? And number two, you're having a pretty darn good year athletically. I think out after the winter fall and winter, you were 20th in the Directors' Cup. And I know that you've done some good things since then as an organization, as an athletic department. Can you talk, first of all, about the NCAA and various rulings they made in track and field the last few days?
Well, it's just a travesty for student athletes. The fact of the matter is, it would be if we told the officials in basketball that you can call everything normally for the round of 32 and for the Elite Eight and for the Final Four. But in any game involving the Sweet 16, you can't use DVD Sports. You can't make any calls during the game. Because that's in essence what they did for the track regionals. And there are 5 student athletes, 1 at Florida State, 2 at Arkansas, 1 at Air Force, 1 at Iowa State, that are going to be sitting home for no fault of their own because the NCAA Track and Field Committee put a rule in that said when you're competing for the final 12 spots at one of the 2 regional sites, the referee it doesn't matter what happens. Somebody could come out of the stands and tackle the person that's winning. The officials cannot advance anybody more than 12. And it's a crying shame for those 5 student athletes. And I'll go to my grave fighting for student athletes. And we're going to get that rule changed somehow, some way, because it is flat out wrong. And it's embarrassing to me that an NCAA staff member would have allowed that rule to be put in place and or not created a waiver, because we all know they've made so many waivers in the history of college athletics. And they couldn't make waivers for those 5 student athletes. It's just, I'm embarrassed to say I'm part of the NCAA because they did that to those 5 athletes. At the same time, I was upset enough that I was ready to resign from the basketball committee. And if it wasn't for Commissioner Bowlesby, who said you can't do that because basically you'd be giving up and letting them win, we need more people like you that are willing to fight to the bitter end. And it's been exciting to see some commissioners that have come on board to say, we got to get this changed. It is flat out wrong what we did, and it's sad. And it makes me wonder I only know about it because I was at the meet. The fact is, there was no NCAA rep at the meet. The 2 committee members that were at the West Regional didn't even watch the race that I was watching. They were under the grandstands doing whatever. I don't know, but they didn't watch it. That's just sad. It's sad. And so if that's happening in other sports, God help us. Makes me wonder. No wonder the student athletes think what they think about the NCAA and what we do. So I'll get off my high horse.
No. Get on that high horse. I want to get to your school, but did you just petition to become the next president of the NCAA? Wouldn't you like to take over that job, or was you even want to get close to that job?
Well, I can tell you this. If I was in charge of it, there'd be some people that wouldn't have jobs this morning. Because the only people that are being held accountable are the student athletes. Mm-hmm. And everybody else goes back to their little life, and there'll be a group of people that'll have VIP passes out at the national meet in Eugene, and we'll be enjoying the track meet. And there'll be 5 athletes that should be there that won't be there because of the bureaucracy of the NCAA and people afraid to stand up and do what's right for student athletes. So, back to Iowa State. Yes, we're having our best year ever. 20th in the Directors' Cup. Couldn't be more excited. What I'd tell you is people of that, we won the Cyhawk series. We're in the top half of the Big 12 in all sports standings. We're second in the Directors' Cup standings of Big 12 schools. And when people ask, well, why are we having this? What I'd tell you is back when we had COVID, our coaches made some decisions to give up their paychecks, to give up their bonuses so that we didn't have to lay any staff off. And we did that, and we specifically talked about this, is that when we come out of COVID, we're going to need everybody on board. And if we keep everybody employed, I'm talking janitors, all the entry-level people, if we keep everybody employed somehow, some way, we're going to be better positioned to have success quicker than others. And I'm convinced that's why we're in the position we're in, because we had coaches that were willing to say, I will give up in order to make sure this person doesn't lose their job. And it's exciting to have that be rewarded.
Jamie, Smokey and I have a very good friend, Adam, who is an Iowa State graduate. I was actually at his house yesterday, having a barbecue, and Smokey sent me the text that we were going to have you on the show, and I said, as an Iowa State grad, just give me a couple of terms about how you feel about Jamie Pollard. And he said, passionately love it, like he's great. All the fans love him, and I just talking to you for 10 minutes, I can see exactly why he and the Iowa State fans feel that way because of your very clear dedication to this job, which it's fun to hear and hear you go into how passionate you are about these issues.
Well, I appreciate that. It might be my background as a Division III track athlete. Coach Campbell's a Division III athlete. Coach Otzelberger's a Division III athlete. Coach Fenley was a Division III athlete. We did it for the love of the game. No one was giving us a scholarship. And as I told the NCAA this weekend, I'm on the basketball committee, but I'm the athletics director for 400 student athletes, not just football and basketball players. And it's a crying shame in this particular situation that 5 track athletes are treated like they don't matter. If this was basketball or football, you can bet darn sure this would have never happened.
Jamie, you used the term student athlete there a few times, a real emphasis on that. It's a term that Mack Rhodes uses all the time, but it's kind of a term that some people are almost moving away from as this college landscape kind of changes. How important is it to you? Because I've asked Mack this before, and I know how important it is to him, but how important is it to you that no matter what changes in the future as far as college athletics goes, that the student athlete part of student athlete remains important?
Oh, it's the utmost. I mean, it's higher education. That's what we're there for. And for those that criticize and say it's not, again, it's not the 1%, it's the 99%. I've got 450 student athletes at Iowa State, and 445 of the 450 will never get to play their sport ever again competitively when they're done at Iowa State. That's why I go back to these 5 student athletes that aren't getting to compete at the NCAA. They're never going to get that chance again. It's track and field.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a chance to go play over in Europe and back. So I take that extremely important that they're student athletes. And so, our nation has struggled with minor league sports. Minor league baseball players, they'll talk about being on buses and eating macaroni and cheese. Football's never gotten it right. If it wasn't for the NBA standing up and supporting the G League, that didn't work either. So why would we think college athletics can turn into minor league sports? That's not sustainable. And if it does, it'll just become the new football and basketball minor league sports, and all those other 450 student athletes will lose out on an opportunity to get a paid education. And other than the federal Pell Grant Association, whatever you call that, we're the largest provider of financial aid for students to go to college. And it's a great opportunity for thousands of student athletes. And so I'll always vouch for that because we don't need more minor league sports.
Jamie, being a part of the NCAA men's basketball committee, and you have been for 3 years with a couple of years to go, and you mentioned about how mad you were that you wanted to give that roll up and Bob Bowlesby changed your mind or asked you not to. Can you see if the NCAA does not get their act together, the way they might lose the football playoff? Could you see them ever doing that in men's basketball and having the conferences run it?
Absolutely can see it happening. Absolutely can see it happening.
That says a lot. Hey, Mack Rhodes thinks a lot of you. He's talked about you quite a bit. I know you're about to see him. Jamie, we appreciate you very much. You're an inspiration to a lot of people as well for what you've done to fight as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you having me on.
Hope to meet you one day. Jamie Pollard, Athletic Director, Iowa State University. And, boy, how about some truth serum? And here he is on the NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament Committee and basically wants to walk away from that because he was so upset about the rulings when it comes to some track and field trips, falls, athletes that were fell down, didn't finish high enough. And the NCAA said, no, we're not going to change this up.
That's the kind of passion that college athletics leadership needs. That somebody's going to stand up for issues as opposed to, what the leadership they had with Mark Emmert, which was, and other people as well. But Mark Emmert was like, well, what are you going to do about this? I don't know. I don't have any ideas. That was kind of what you got from the NCAA, and that's what – look, it may not be Jamie Pollard, and if I were Jamie Pollard, I don't know if I would want that job, but those are the kind of people that you need in those positions who –
Joe Moglia, Jamie Pollard, Mack Rhodes, among others. I know there's others in the Big 12 as well, and then there was another guest we had. Greg Shaheen. Get them in a room and see if they can get something done.
Yeah, I think he had a lot of passion, and it was great to hear somebody just speak with total truth and not hold back and just let it fly and how he's feeling about a variety of topics. But it was, great to hear his response to the student-athlete part of things because I do think, like he said, that's getting really kind of lost. But as I try to remind you guys all the time, when it's Twitter says or Twitter says – And I use this example, I'll use it again. Somebody's feeling the heat from Twitter because something they said was controversial. They got 50 replies. Like, oh, my gosh, was it 5 people tweeting you 10 times or was it 50 people tweeting at you angry? If it was 50 people, you probably said something stupid. If it's the same 5 people just doing it over and over and over again, then they're typically the stupid ones. So, when we hear like, oh, get rid of the – basically make it minor league football or whatever else, stuff like that. I mean, you got to take into account where that's coming from, and it's not necessarily indicative of the bigger picture. And I think he kind of broke that down quite nicely as it pertains to, the changes and all the rumors flying constantly when it comes to college football. Definitely admire the job that he's done in Ames and wouldn't hate him if he was the Big 12 commissioner next or the head of the NCAA, but I know Iowa State fans would be bummed about that, and rightfully so.
Thanks to Nick Jose, who was at Baylor for a long, long time. Paul, you knew him. Craig, you knew him. He was one of the first people I ever met, took me out to lunch back in the day, Senior Associate AD for Communications at Iowa State. Love Nick Jose and the job he does. And Nick, thank you for setting that up with Jamie having a busy week ahead of him.
Yeah, and thanks for giving us that much time. We probably need to send a thank you card or something because it was a good half hour or so. But yeah, we could have easily gone another half hour on topics, especially with him being as fired up as he was.
When you hear Jamie Pollard, when you hear Gene Taylor was on with us, of course, a few weeks back. When you hear Mack Rhodes and you hear others. And then you realize the Big 12, yes, we understand eyeballs and ratings and grant of rights and all that. But when you hear them, you can see that in that room when all hell broke loose at the end of July, and the presidents as well, how some of them who rose up, maybe all of them that rose up and said, damn it, we need to be here for each other. And when you have someone like that fighting for you, yes, it still comes down to numbers. I get that. But that's why you have a chance to be where you are right now with growth coming up in 1 year.
Yeah, and I think you kind of put the kibosh on any thoughts of Oklahoma and Texas bolting any earlier than in the next couple of years. And, we covered a lot there. I mean, about the only thing we didn't get into was, like, divisions. But, that's the thing that's, again, down the line and not really, what they're too worried about right at this moment is, how the new Big 12 unfolds. They're worried about right now, next season, and the season after, and then – then they'll settle into the new digs. But, yeah, a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, and he makes an interesting point. Like, the only way it could happen if if the television partners, which I guess would be ESPN, wanted Texas and OU to start that new SEC so badly that they just said, all right, look, here's what we'll do.
Here's what Texas and OU still have some things they got to pay, but we're going to set up your new grant or your new television deal with the knowledge that they're coming a year or two early. And hey, if you're the remaining 8 and then the new coming 4, and we've discussed this before, you're not going to let a lot of things slide, but that would be awesome, especially if the number you're going to get each year is much more than most people anticipate, thanks to Jamie Pollard at Iowa State.
Yeah, and pretty big final comments there on the NCAA tournament and March Madness, not being necessarily run by the NCAA in the future. I mean, I think that's kind of like their last bastion of relevance, quite frankly, is the NCAA tournament, the fact that they organize it and run it. But outside of that, I mean, again, I'm sure there's some good people that work there, some people that try really hard. I don't understand how they're still understaffed. That makes absolutely zero sense with the money flowing through college athletics. That makes zero sense. I mean, the COVID thing, it's not over, whatever. But, everybody's back in the office. Like, I don't get the understaffed thing. And it just sounds like more, from the NCAA. And if he doesn't understand really what they're doing half the time, then how the hell are fans at home supposed to understand?
Understaffed means one of two things to me. Either you can't hire people because they don't want to work there, or you won't.
I think it might be more number one, yeah.
I mean, because right now, does people not want to work there because you need them? Or you're just not doing it.
When we come back in studio, Levi Carraway covers Baylor baseball on the coaching change. He'll be in studio with us and what his background or insight on what happened this year in the last few weeks or days as well. Craig's off the radar as well, and just after 5 o'clock, we will talk about how the SEC and the Big Ten and how they're looking forward to possibly changing up their scheduling structure. And that will be with Scott Docterman will join us on that as well. Scott Drew at 520, Sikkim 365 Radio. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. In fact, Don's, I went by there yesterday, about to take the big jet to Florida, coming up later in the week to go see my 3 brothers. And my oldest brother, Robert, and my second oldest brother, Michael, and my youngest brother, Philip, they love the smoked cigars. And so I got a nice box of my father, and that I got from Don's Humidor. I'll take them down there. They don't know I'm bringing them. Maybe they do watch. I don't know. But they will have plenty of cigars, believe me. Whether it's Padron or Cohiba or whether it's something else, my brothers will have a bunch of cigars, and we will smoke them, and probably almost like it's nonstop like a chimney. It's what we do as we sit around, have a drink, relax, talk about many things in life as well. Can't wait to get down there. So I couldn't wait to get to Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans last week. Went by and said hi to Ashley and Cheyenne. Got a box of cigars, my father. And I can't wait to see him. If you have somebody that smokes cigars, or you do as well, and you don't know about Don's Humidor, they have a big 48-foot walk-in humidor. It's gorgeous, loaded with all the high brands, the best of the best. And then on top of that, CBD products, including try Vita Dreams. If you struggle to fall asleep at night, Vita Dreams will help you do that. It's Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans. Tell Ashley, Cheyenne, and Carol Smokey sent you in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At Allen Samuels, we're bringing great savings during the Memorial Day sales event on the award-winning, year-after-year new 2022 Ram 1500. Get up to $7,000 in total values or $2,500 bonus cash and 0% for 60 months. These great deals are for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her, and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Scott Docterman will join us at the top of the hour on the SEC Big 12 and how they're going to maneuver or try to maneuver their scheduling. Also, Scott Drew on the Gonzaga series, or the game, non-conference game. And then John McClain, Paul Catalina's top five. Craig's off the radar next. But in studio, our very own, man, we've got an amazing staff that Brian, Colt, and Ashley have built up on Sikkim 365 under the umbrella. Levi Carraway covers Baylor baseball. And obviously on the story yesterday, no longer the head coach, and Steve Rodriguez. Levi, thanks, man. Did that story surprise you?
It really didn't. I mean, coming into the 2022 season, we knew Rod was going to be on the hot seat and kind of a prove-it year. And then kind of as the season progressed, you kind of saw the writing on the wall. You know, especially after Tyler Thomas and Will Rigney went down kind of towards the end of the year, you knew it was going to end poorly. So,
how much of this is just performance-based based on this year, or overall buzz based on the last few years?
So I think when Rod got hired in 2016, that first year was kind of a rebuild. And then 2017, 2018, 2019, he gets to regional every single year. Doesn't ever make to a super regional with really talented teams. You got All-Americans and Shea Langoliers, David Wenzel, Cody Bradford. Still can't really get over that hump. And you're like, okay, maybe in 2020 things can start to kind of change. And then COVID cancels it. They just came off. I wrote this in the article. They just came off over 3 wins against SEC schools in the Shriners Classic in Houston, which was like huge. So everybody's like, okay, maybe this is the year. And then boom, it's gone. And then that kind of derailed things. Then 2021, COVID kind of towards the end of the year, 65th team out of 64, doesn't make the tournament. And then this year, they were kind of hoping to get back, but they just never could regain that momentum. And when you lose a momentum in a baseball program, very difficult to refine that.
As they wound down there towards the Big 12 tournament, did you kind of what was the feeling kind of around the team at that point? Did it all feel like the writing was sort of on the wall at that stage?
It did. A few weeks kind of leading up to it, you kind of had an idea. And then that Oklahoma State series, they pulled off that crazy Friday night, or at the time I think it was Thursday, but the 11-3 comeback win. You're like, wow, that was best victory of the year, but in the grand scheme of things, it didn't mean anything. It was kind of nice to see the guys just have like a good, feel-good win, but then Friday, Saturday, they ended up losing. And then going into the tournament, then they were leading TCU 2-0, going into the bottom of the sixth, I believe, and 2 errors, game tied, bullpen blows the game in the 7th, then it was over. And then at that point, you just saw the air kind of deflate out of the whole team because they were competing with TCU up until the very end. And then the Oklahoma State game was, just from the first pitch, there wasn't much juice on the field, no energy or anything.
I mentioned this word, and it may be a little harsh about apathy within the baseball program, and that's not directed at anybody. Of course, the head coach is the one whose name is brought up no matter what sport. Did you see anything at all where, like the crowd, the size, the energy, was it just there? Was there any moment you thought there was a spark?
No, quite frankly. This year was the anniversary of the 2012 team, and you kind of see – we had a game where they came out, and you saw those moments back then where Baylor Ballpark was filled. And I showed y'all earlier, and I'm doing an article in June about the attendance every single year, not including 2021 because of attendance things, but since 2012, every single year attendance has gone down. And even when Steve Smith was fired and Rod replaced him, the attendance was kind of about the same. And then after that, it just went down and went down and went down. And so I think as a student, you see what Nikki Collin does. You see what Scott Drew does within the student body of just going out there. And people kind of take that for granted. Like when active students see, oh, these people want me to go to their games, they're going to give pizza, they're going to give giveaways. Like that does a big deal. And people don't really, I think, appreciate that aspect of it. And, people don't really even know baseball exists because like y'all were saying, like you don't even feel that it was baseball. And so this year, there's probably in midweek games, probably 200 to 400 people there, 100 of those being family members. And then on weekends, it was pretty bad too. I mean, I think the Texas Tech and Oklahoma State series had some pretty good showouts, but half of the fans there were the opposing teams. So that goes to show you that just nobody was.
So if you had to put a guess on how many students show up at a game right now?
On a midweek game, probably 15 to 25. On a weekend, probably 50 to 100.
Yeah, that's not going to work. No. That's not going to work.
No, and baseball can be a collegiate type fan, like a student type sport. And if Scott Drew has got the national title and he's out, what was the mood inside the program among the players? There's been a few things said about this and that he lost the team. And again, I asked Steve to come on. He said he'd rather not good timing. I'm not going to guess at that. You were there every day. Was this something that were some players that were hurt by this? Was there any kind of he leaves or we leave type of thought in your opinion?
I think if you look at the roster right now, there's about 40 to 45 people on it, but 20 to 25 of those guys don't play. And so in any circumstance, when you have a rough season in football and basketball and baseball across the board, if you have a bad year and you don't play, you're going to leave, especially now with the transfer portal and whatnot. People are going to take advantage of that. And I saw today that Arizona State's been arguably one of the best baseball programs in the country the past couple decades, and they had 8 people enter today after a sub-500 year. And so that just goes to show that, like, there's always going to be people now that are going to want to reach out, going to leave to find more playing time elsewhere. And so I think in our case it was a little overblown. Baylor's roster is kind of in a weird position where you have quite a few guys that are going to be weighing MLB options. You have quite a few seniors, and the rest are pretty young people that don't get much playing time that could potentially transfer. And so it was kind of overblown to say that there was like a mutiny among players because that wasn't the case. But I would not be surprised to see, like mentioned, 15 to 20 people transfer out.
Arizona State's got the history, the lineage. Bob Horner, Rick Monday, Reggie Jackson. Is that right? No, was he a Southern Cal? Where did Bonds play? Southern Cal?
No, he was at
Arizona State. I mean, it's got a history in baseball, without question, at Arizona State. That says something, because you can lose it that quickly, even with – and they've had a struggle throughout their athletic department quite a bit. So, what's next?
Well, you know how Mac Rhodes is. He keeps it very secretive, very under wraps as he begins his coaching search. I know a lot of people in the Waco area want to go with Mitch Thompson from MCC, but, you know, I don't really see Mac going that direction, and I don't see him going Hefner from DBU either. So, you know, he's definitely going to go with somebody under the radar, somebody we're not expecting, somebody that I have kind of been interested in for the Louisiana people, but Jake Gautreau. I'm not good with the Cajun stuff, but he was at Tulane. He's Mississippi State's assistant coach. They won the national championship last year. He just turned down a job to go back to his alma mater at Tulane. So that's kind of interesting, and that was very recently. And so I'm sure he's one of the people that we're going to be reaching out to. The UTSA coach as well. He's a good candidate.
Baylor's open, Clemson's open, and Kansas is open. Mm-hmm. So I would think that, I mean, and that's just three off the top of my head, that if you're Jay Gautreau, you would be like, I'm going to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't know about Kansas, but Clemson,
but it's still a Power 5 job. Yeah,
Clemson and Baylor are definitely the top two open jobs, and people are definitely going to want those jobs. They kind of like the private school Baylor thing, but no, people will want this job.
Levi, I do want to clarify one thing, and I did my own due diligence on this, is that there were thoughts that perhaps all of a sudden late in the year there was a hall monitor that started watching baseball. That's not correct, no, right? In fact, Chad Jackson's been a part of that job as the protocol assistant AD. Every sport has a liaison, so to speak. So there was nothing like different in the end or near the end where there was extra people monitoring what was going on?
Not to my knowledge. Chad Jackson was there on a regular basis, so not that anything I know.
What did players on the team, either whether they're coming back, leaving, have a chance to get drafted or what have they said to you about yesterday?
So I think most people, first off, the reports were they all were like, okay, that's a little overblown. It's not that bad. It wasn't bad at all. But it was time. It was time. It had taken its course.
All right, good luck with that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, great job covering. And no, it's not always fun when the season's not that fun, but, patient enough and there'll be a good season around the corner.
Hopefully.
See what happens with that. Thanks, buddy. Good to have you on. Levi, just one of the many talented young men that we have and women on this staff at SicEm365.com and SicEm365 Radio as well. Coming up next, Craig's Off the Radar. Scott Docterman, who covers college football for theathletic.com. Also, Scott Drew, John McClain, top 5, loaded up. Here we go, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, a great place to make sure your smile is something you can be proud of. And if you feel good about your smile, it usually can give you a lot of confidence in yourself, the way you walk around. Because otherwise, if that's not the case, you kind of look like you have a frown in your face because you don't want to smile, even if you're happy. Dr. Steve Childress at Stonewood Dental can change that for you. Believe me, this guy's been amazing for me. He has served our country, coming off, of course, Memorial Day on Monday with those who fought and lost their lives for our country. Steve Childress is amazing. He has met me after hours to help me with things that hurt. For example, a molar in the bottom right and a molar in the top left. At my age, it happens. He's there. Great hygienist. They have a fantastic staff. Multiple dentists that will make sure you get what you want, whether it's to completely change up your smile or to fix just the little things that happen along the way. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 Radio, taking a look at just a grab bag of stories from around the sports world that we might not otherwise get to, and starting off with a sad note, get the bad out of the way first, but Big 12 country is certainly familiar with the name Jeff Gladney after watching him have a terrific career at TCU just a few years ago, made his way onto the NFL, and unfortunately, we learned this past weekend that he passed away in a car wreck. He and his 26-year-old I believe girlfriend, as all this is kind of still getting sorted out, but there was, back and forth reports, at least early on when this story first broke. Now police have confirmed as of today, as of this morning, the Dallas County Sheriff's Department, that two people, a male, Jeff Gladney, and the female, were found passed away dead in a white overturned vehicle at around 2:30 a.m. in Dallas County. They did not name them by name, but everybody's kind of gone to the conclusion of realizing who it is at this point. Right now, the allegation is that Gladney's car might have been speeding when it clipped into a second vehicle from behind, and that caused the crash. They're not sure about how fast Gladney's car might have been going, but the white vehicle, which was the victim's car, the car that got hit, struck a pier beam on the freeway, flipped into a grassy area, or I guess that was Gladney's car, excuse me, struck a pier beam on the freeway, flipped into a grassy area, and the other vehicle that was hit, they were not injured, the two occupants in that car. So just further confirmation today. Former first-round pick of the Arizona Cardinals, as I mentioned, a great player at TCU, a Texas native, and the worst part, just 25 years old, Jeff Gladney. So terrible news from this past weekend. Saw a lot of mourning from Frogs fans out there, and rightfully so, but starting to get a little bit more information. Not that it really matters in the end. Just a tragic passing, and you know, Dwayne Haskins is not the exact same situations, but Henry Ruggs, like this offseason with vehicles in the NFL has been the stuff of nightmares, quite frankly.
Yeah, and Jeff Gladney just was found not guilty of some assault charges, and he had a rough year. I mean, he was having a long year, and you know, you'd hope that, you know, if he came out the other side, he could, you know, start to have a productive life and career, and then to see it ended at 25 is just tragic.
Yep, so awful news there for him, and we'll see. I'm sure there will be more details. Not that anybody probably cares too much about those at this point, but regardless of, you know, who is at fault in all of that, a couple people lost their lives, and rest in peace to Jeff Gladney. Hope his family is able to try and find some peace.
Who was it that he was a head-to-head with Baylor, that when they went against each other? It wouldn't have been Corey Coleman. It would have been, I don't think it was, but they had some battles. Man, he was good. He was really, really good.
Yeah, he was, and yeah, it probably was Corey Coleman.
Okay.
I mean, he's been in the NFL for a little while now, but I don't know that for sure. I'm not sure what you're referencing, but it probably was Corey Coleman. Elsewhere in the NBA, star Jaylen Brown has announced that he is signing with Kanye West Donda Sports. Aaron Donald, who's now playing the whole I might retire game because he got contract stuff going on. Well, he signed with Donda Sports and Kanye West's brand just I guess a week or two ago, and now Celtics guard Jaylen Brown joining the fray. First pro athlete, I guess he's the first pro athlete ever to sign with this doesn't make any sense. Aaron Donald said that he was doing it a couple of weeks ago, and now Jaylen Brown, but they're calling him the first pro athlete. Regardless, Jaylen Brown now signing with Donda Sports, and we'll see how much this catches fire. I mean, obviously got a couple of big names already. Nike's going to always be the king, of course, and then there's, you know, other brands as well that have been hit or miss, depending on, you know, kind of when you look at them. But we'll see if Kanye can't now take over. I mean, his shoes have been incredibly popular. His line with Adidas and everything he pretty much has touched other than his marriage has turned to absolute gold. And even then, you know, made a lot of headlines and got some kids out of it. But, you know, he's doing pretty well on this business side of things outside of music. And it'll be interesting to see just how high he can take Donda Sports, that branch of things. But Jaylen Brown joining the party.
Yeah, I would. Aaron Donald. I mean, he's got good. You know, Jaylen Brown's about to get a lot more attention here in the finals. So yeah, Kanye. Everything he touches seems to work out in spite of himself.
Yeah, I mean, not on the personal side so much,
Yeah.
but yeah, business-wise it does. I mean, business-wise he's doing very well for himself. So yeah, just an interesting note there because I know some people are into the whole shoe game or into the merchandise side of the, you know, the deals that guys get, sponsorships and whatnot. So Jaylen Brown now part of Donda Sports. Former Bears defensive lineman Hakeem Hicks agreed to a one-year deal today worth $10 million with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also, Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy has had all charges dismissed against him, with lawyers saying there was nothing that reached the level of a crime. The district attorney dismissed all of those charges, and he was, of course, you know, it was another kind of a string of things. It feels like the NFL was just troublemaker after troublemaker kind of thing happening, but he had been accused of tampering with evidence in tampering with a domestic violence enhancer. He had been freed on a personal cognizance bond, but basically the story is if you're a Jerry Jeudy fan or you're a Broncos fan, you don't have to worry about those charges coming back to haunt him. So that's one less thing to have to worry about.
It was kind of a weird thing anyway, and then I think
the enhancer part of the language, and I don't even know what that meant initially.
Yeah, I think something happened. It was something with the car. It was like it sounded like it was a much more ornate Goonies level plot than it was.
Yeah, the woman involved, and there's a lot of unnamed women involved in these stories, I guess, but the woman was attempting to leave the home, wanted her property returned. He was, I guess, fought her on that, like not physically, but they had a disagreement over that, and that's what it ended up being, the tampering and the enhancement and all of that. But just in the league for a couple years, had that dust up, but thankfully, like I said, for Broncos fans and Jerry Jeudy fans, that's not something to have to worry about now at this point. We were talking about the college baseball carousel, and I looked up the list of the jobs that are open right now. Baylor is one of them. Bellarmine, Butler, Clemson, FIU, Kansas, Northwestern, North Alabama, Northern Colorado, Ohio State, San Francisco, Tulane, UT Arlington, Western Carolina, Western Kentucky, and Yale. Those are all of the currently open baseball jobs across America. I like Baylor's chances contending with the majority of those. Ohio State, probably not as much. Clemson, obviously, would be another tough one if you were in the thick of things for the same candidate. But really, outside of those two, I feel like you could probably go toe-to-toe with every single school on this list.
And a factor to consider in now what are the equivalency sports or whatever they call, non-revenue sports is what we've always called them. But if you've got a team that once they kind of deregulate that and say, if you want to give 30 full scholarships to baseball, you can do it, and you can determine that, what you want to do and how you want to allocate those resources. If they do that, it depends on which of the, because, for example's sake, say Clemson would do that, and Ohio State's like, we don't really care about baseball here. We'll go to 20. It's not going to matter to them. Their assets are going to be used elsewhere. So how that affects coaches and where they go, seeing is because if I'm a coach and I'm interviewing somewhere, I'm going to say, okay, so say they allow us to have 30 scholarships. Are you going to give me 30 scholarships or not? Like that to me would be a big thing for baseball, softball, whatever sport I'm interviewing for right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be an important factor, I think, for anybody who takes the job is just figuring out the lay of the land. And, Mac Rose just said the other day that if it goes to free-range scholarships, that he doesn't know that they're going to be in the best position or that that's best for them. So that's a conversation he'll have to have. And somebody with a great plan to try and iron out any issues or obstacles that they may see coming if there's all of a sudden no cap on the scholarships or less of get rid of that cap in baseball at least. Elsewhere, Razir Bolton of Gonzaga announced he will return to school withdrawing from the NBA draft. So we're starting to see all of those start to trickle in. Of course, Adam Flagler last week was a big one for Baylor basketball. Elsewhere in the NHL tonight, Rangers beat the Hurricanes in Game 7, so they move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, but tonight it'll be the Western Conference Finals, game number 1, as the Edmonton Oilers are on the road against the Colorado Avalanche, so that will get the Stanley Cup final, conference finals started. Oilers at the Avalanche, that's a 7 p.m. face-off, and then eventually we'll get Game 1 after the Rangers advance beating the Hurricanes. They will take on the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have been sitting around just basically resting up and awaiting their opponent. So that will eventually be Game 1, Lightning Rangers. And then tonight in the NBA, there's nothing going on now because now we've got our finals all set up as it will be the Celtics and the Warriors clashing for the NBA Finals crown. The Celtics beating the Heat. And a lot of talk about that game, but now we've got it's finally settled. So Warriors-Celtics, what is y'all's anticipation level?
It's been 12 years since the Celtics, I think, were in a championship series, which is hard to imagine. That's like the Yankees going that long as far as terms. Celtics have had kind of moxie, but the Warriors are so explosive. If it gets physical, and I know Golden State's got Draymond or whatever, if it ends up being kind of a slugfest, the Celtics win. If it's not, the Warriors will just have too many weapons.
Yeah, I think the Warriors are probably a little bit better set up, but the Celtics, man, I don't think they're going to go anywhere for a while, even if they don't win this series. I think it'll be good. I think you're going to see a pretty back and forth series.
Looking forward to it. Draymond, of course, said they expected Boston, and then the Heat won Game 6. Jimmy Butler was incredible, former Tyler Jr. college star, but it ended up being the C's.
Yeah, it did. So that will get started on Thursday with game number 1 that will be in San Francisco. 8 p.m. start time coming up on Thursday. ABC will have the finals and then get a little bit of a couple days break in between games 1 and 2 and then between games 2 and 3 as well. But, yeah, game 1 coming up Thursday, NBA title. Celtics, Warriors, and the NHL now down to their finals as conference finals as well. So a lot going on, even though it's apparently the kind of dead summertime, and those are a few things off the radar.
Thank you, Craig. Rangers hammered Carolina to get into the Stanley Cup Finals. Tampa Bay ought to be fun with that. Jeff Gladney, by the way, is from New Boston, Texas, went against Denzel Mims. That's the matchup, and Mims, of course, had the game-winning triple overtime touchdown from Charlie Brewer. They went head-to-head. I don't think Gladney covered him on that play, but that was the matchup. I remember watching those two go at each other. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it just seemed like he played longer ago than that, but I guess that was kind of a long time ago now, even still, just a couple years. I guess Denzel's been in the league now, but yeah.
And they went against each other at Dangerfield and New Boston,
yeah,
too.
he was a great player, so hate that for everybody involved, and rest in peace.
Scott Docterman is next. TheAthletic.com has a story about how the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to figure out how to keep intact various rivalries when they start their scheduling. That's next. Scott Drew at 520, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now over at Richard Carr. Of course, they are the people that you can count on no matter what you're looking for, whether it's a new or a used vehicle. They've got, in the case of new vehicles, new cars and trucks arriving weekly. You can call or go online for current inventory or go by the dealership in person to buy and build your perfect vehicle. You can also get your name on their inbound vehicle list to reserve a brand new Buick GMC or Cadillac before anyone else. If you need a car today, consider one of their dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks. All of them have gone through a 172-point inspection, so you can drive them with peace of mind. They'll pay top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. They'll say yes to loans when others say no, so go online or come by to check out the inventory today. With over 23 years serving Waco, Richard Carr Motors has offered award-winning service from their collision and service center, and they are the dealer you can count on for a great deal and superior service for the life of your car. So trust the good local people you can count on. 23 years in Central Texas, run by proud Wacoans and proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer, Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care
And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
It'll be first and goal for the Hawkeyes. More customary goal for Pollard now. Lead blocker. And there goes Tyler Goodson. He's into the end zone for a touchdown.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Saw this 2 or 3 days ago. Scott Docterman from theathletic.com. Big Ten, SEC spending the summer debating future alignments, trying to protect important rivalries. And he joins us now, Scott Docterman, on Sikkim 365 Radio. Scott, this had to be kind of intriguing because I'm sure everybody has their own mind made up on who are the rivalries. How difficult of a process will this be, or is it going to be kind of easy?
I think it's going to be a real challenge because I think you got to kind of straddle that line between rivalry preservation and what's best for the conference. And in most cases, the conference want to have a kind of a fair amount or a set amount of rivalry games determined. If there's, say, 2 for each league or 3 for each league, and then cycle through the remaining opponents. But when you have so much expansion and you have teams that, like in the SEC and Missouri, that has only been there, 10 years, 9 years, and in the Big Ten of Maryland and Rutgers, those teams don't have rivalries established. And so there's not a real importance for them to make sure to play these games. But then when you're in the SEC or the Big Ten and you look at Mississippi State LSU, for instance, they played 115 times. And now, is it a rivalry? Well, that's up to the determination of whether you think playing 115 times counts or you just played a lot. So it's going to be a real fascinating debate as to what are the heated games, what are the heated games over the last 10 years, maybe an Alabama LSU figures into that, or 30 years like the SEC's divisional play, or beyond that, in the Big Ten with an Iowa, Wisconsin, or, Wisconsin, Nebraska being a new one. So a lot of different fascinating angles to go through with this.
The SEC seems to be leaning towards the 3-6-6 model of the 9 games and rotating. What do you think the Big Ten will do?
I think they're leaning in that direction as well. The only question I have is will it be 2 protected opponents or 3? And 2 weeks ago when I was in Chicago talking to some of the athletic directors, there was a wide variance in what they wanted. Penn State, for instance, the AD who's outgoing at this point, she's retiring next month, but she said there's nobody I would pound the table for that we have to play every year. But then you talk to Minnesota and Iowa's ADs who have 2 or 3, in Iowa's case, 3 really impactful rivalries. You want to play them every year, and if the Big Ten decides to just pick 2, then it's, you're cutting off your leg here on your history. So I think they'll end up going with 3, but my case that I tried to make was, look, with these leagues, sometimes it's not worth going everybody gets 3 because who in the Big Ten really wants to play Rutgers every year or Maryland every year if they got a choice? But do you really want to ice out some of the better rivalries, historically? So I think 3 will probably be the magic number for both leagues if they go this route. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if the Big Ten went down to 2.
How much, Scott, do you think this can help some of the imbalance that we see at times with certain divisions, certainly the SEC West, although Georgia now has changed that up a little bit, but for the longest time they were clearly the dominant division, and if you were in that division, you had a much tougher schedule, Big 12 South there for a little while and so on. Do you think this cures the imbalance problem, or are there other issues that arise from it?
It's going to be fascinating because if you look at, like the Big Ten, for instance, in championship games, it's 8-0 in favor of the East. But Ohio State is what skews the divisional structure no matter what they do. Legends or leaders or East-West. Since they went geographic, Ohio State 61-5 against the league and 18-2 against the West, and 5-0 in championship games. But when you look at outside of that, the East leads only 77-70 in regular season games. Now, granted, they've won every championship, so it does look significantly imbalanced. I think the question is, going forward, is how important is it to your league that the second best team, whether it's objective or subjective, gets a chance at the title, and how will that impact its college football playoff opportunities? Because if you're the Big Ten and you're Penn State in a 12-team playoff, maybe being number 2 in the East and not playing Ohio State for the second time is not the worst opportunity to get into the playoff. However, if you go and you get blitzed in that game, you might not make it. And so that's what the league's got to kind of determine is, is this the best path just to have the best possible matchup for the championship game? Or in some cases, it's not the same as having the best opportunity to make 2 or 3 teams go to the playoff.
I saw your list, critical to keep them, the rivalry, strong discussion and worth consideration, including some new ones, and from old rivals in the Big 12, et cetera. I saw you got a little note from somebody that said, why would the game between LSU and Mississippi State be under critical review? And then your reaction to that was, how many times have they met, Scott?
115.
Yeah. And see, sometimes people look at the elite names, they look at the marquee names, but forget about, and we've seen a lot of incredible series, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and others just disappear. So I would love to see them protect that one.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of them that have such rich history that even if sometimes if it's a hammer versus a nail, a Tennessee, Kentucky, they played 117 times. Would anybody say that's a marquee matchup? No. But when you have such a rich tradition and history among those two programs playing for that long, like I looked it up with LSU and Mississippi State, they've missed twice since 1905. Each of them were during world wars, just once in each world war. That is astounding history that you've got to protect at all costs or have a significant discussion as to why that needs to rotate off. And I think every league has those. And some of the other ones I think are really fascinating. You got the Texas A&M, of course. That's going to be one that needs to go on. But, whether it's potential for a new one, Oklahoma, Arkansas, they're so close. I always wondered if Arkansas would have been better in the Big 12. Had it been able to join, say, in the 80s, and that could have been a great rivalry. That'd be a fun one to put together. But really, when it comes to rivalry preservation, that has to be at or near the top of the list. And I think that's what I'm glad that this discussion is happening now before these decisions are made, because otherwise, they could be in danger. I mean, these ADs don't stay very long at schools, but fans and rivalries live forever. So I think I'm glad there's going to be a robust discussion about all these rivalries.
Well, I guess the brighter side of all of it is that even if you do skip a year, if they do the way they're saying in 366, you're at least not going to be 9 years like the A&M Georgia, whatever it is. The first time they're playing is since A&M joined the conferences this year.
Yeah, exactly. There are so many of those little outliers, and A&M Georgia is one that you bring up. In the Big Ten, Iowa's going to Columbus for the first time since 2013, and they've been two of the most successful programs in the Big Ten and they've only played once since 2013. So you've got to get those games cycled through a little bit more often. I think either way, it's going to happen more frequently, once every 2 to 3 years. So you'll at least be able to see these teams with greater frequency, and I think that makes it, whatever league, it makes it with more cohesion than what we've seen in recent years. And I think I'm really anxious to see what the Big 12 will do when it goes to 12 teams, because talked to Jamie Pollard last week. He was adamant that there's not going to be divisions in the new look Big 12, but how are you going to decide those games, who's important to play over and over again? I'm sure with Baylor, it's going to, TCU's got to be on the list, right? Even though they were out of the same league for 20 years or whatever, but still, you played 100 times. You've got to keep that going. And so I'm fascinated by all these discussions, because I think they're really vital to keeping the integrity of the game, especially now when we're seeing so much change.
Scott, we had Jamie Pollard on today, and my goodness, I'm not so sure we don't want him to be the NCAA president or the Big 12 commissioner. He had a bunch of truth serum to throw out there.
He does. He is very much a fighter for his university and for what he's passionate and cares about. I would not put it past him. I think he'd be an outstanding somebody you'd want to consider for the Big 12, because I think he will battle for you under each and every situation. And I can only tell you my experiences all these years with having Iowa and Iowa State in the same state. When he came here in late in 2005, Iowa State was a complete afterthought in the state. And he's turned it around to where Iowa's still the flagship, but Iowa State sells out a 60,000-seat stadium. And before, they'd only sell out twice a year. That was when Iowa or Nebraska came to town.
Hey, Scott, thank you, man. We appreciate it. It's interesting because of the constant change, scheduling, realignment, conferences, adding, losing, whatever. And, of course, NIL transfer portal. It gives us a lot to talk about. Great stuff. I loved it. Again, go online, and I just retweeted it as far as Scott's story about the critical, strong discussion and worth consideration rivalries to keep going as the Big Ten and SEC move forward. Thanks for your time. Scott Docterman at theathletic.com. I just put that up. So the critical series, I know we got Scott Drew coming up. Alabama, Auburn. Alabama, Tennessee. Auburn and Georgia. Georgia, Florida. Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Tennessee, Kentucky. A&M and Texas. Texas, OU. LSU, Ole Miss. And LSU, Mississippi State, as he mentioned, 115 meetings.
Yeah, which pushes Arkansas LSU and A&M LSU to the next list. And A&M and LSU is probably the newest rivalry of the the big ones.
For a long time they played each other, right?
Yeah, they played every year.
Texas and Arkansas is another one that goes way back. Arkansas, Oklahoma, you would think would have a pretty good series. They had that one Orange Bowl when Arkansas upset Barry Switzer and OU in a game when, heck, I think Arkansas had players who were suspended. That would be one that would make sense to me. Alabama, LSU, long time.
Well, from Ross Dellinger, pods have been eliminated from the discussion for a while. Most field divisions are out too. This is from this morning. AD seems split on 2 future models, 8-game with 1 permanent and 7 rotating, or 9-game with 3, permanents and 6 rotating would be how they would do that.
I like the 3-6. To me, makes a lot more sense. But, I think you'll be better. It'll be better. It'll be different games every year. Nothing gets stale. I'll just say, like, as an FSU fan, we got tired of playing Wake Forest, and then they started beating us, and then it was like, we're still tired of playing them. But it was, and the league got bigger, and then you still had to play Wake Forest. And it was like, well, why don't you get to play somebody else more often? To me, the
thing that's interesting is, how do you juggle keeping those rivalries? And then how do you juggle making sure somebody doesn't just get absolutely screwed when it comes to how the schedule flips on who they play every year or every other year based on who else is a part of the schedule? Because that's almost like in golf. You can tee off in the morning and there's no wind. And then the guys go out in the afternoon and they go up against horrible conditions. Then the next day the wind is in the morning and there's no wind in the afternoon. It's sometimes the luck of the draw of when you tee off in a golf tournament can help you win the tournament compared to just who you're playing in the course. When we come back, Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball coach. Gonzaga is on their schedule. Sikkim 365 Radio continues in a moment. The city of Woodway, a great place. They have the Carling Bright Arboretum, the pavilion. And they're working around a lot of that, redoing this and spicing things up. But I'm telling you, it was already a beautiful place. Great place to have meetings, rehearsal dinners, weddings. If you have, for example, just get-togethers. That is a great great location, and the setting is fantastic. The landscaping, fantastic. The amenities, fantastic. When you're in that Carling Bright Arboretum, you look around and it's really just beautiful. You almost forget where you might be. And then also they allow outside caterers to help whatever food you're looking for. Paul, your head is in the camera. It's okay. Whatever you're looking for when it comes to whatever you're feeding or how many, up to 360 can be fed inside that room, depending on how you want to set up the tables and seating. It's City of Woodway. Go to discoverwoodway.com.
The Memorial Day sales event is here at Allen Samuels in Waco. The new 2022 Impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% for 72 months and $3,000 in bonus cash. That's right, and $3,000 bonus cash. This great incentive on the new 2022 Wagoneers for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
We're back, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Baylor men's basketball coach Scott Drew with Paul Craig and David Smoak. So Gonzaga, how long has this been in the works, and just kind of go about the inside of the background in this game being set up? Thanks for being a part of the show, Coach.
Well, it's been in the works for quite some time. Coach View and us have the same schedule and philosophy, whatever's good for college basketball and also good for our teams. And
that's usually premier matchups and a great platform for both programs. And one really where there's no loser. And what I mean by that is you win, it really helps your tournament resume. And if you lose, you're not penalized because you're playing great games in the non-conference.
So how did you guys come to an agreement on what was with the venue in South Dakota, the Pentagon? I know they've had a lot of great games there. Yeah. How did that start?
Well, the Pentagon is, like you said, they've had a lot of great games recently up there. And then the venue is, from everyone that's played up there, really brags about just what a great place it is to watch a game and be a part of a game. There's a great atmosphere. And obviously, Mount Rushmore is beautiful that time of year, I believe.
Hey, have you ever been there?
I have, but I was probably too young to remember much about it. But I know I have been there with my family when I was a little one.
It is awe-inspiring, no question about it. So your schedule pretty much now is set, right? Is there anything else to add, or is this it?
No, we still don't know who we're playing in the SEC Challenge. We don't know about the Big 12, when and who. And there's still one more game we're trying to work out and see. Stanford, we're supposed to return a game and don't know what we're going to do with that right now. So basically, in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we can have the SEC opponent, have the this last game resolved, and then we just wait on the Big 12.
Scott, with now your roster set and all you've added, what you've lost, where do you feel like you are in the kind of job your staff and you did to kind of create what you have coming back and also the incoming talent?
Well, I think our staff, I know, feels very good with who we have and the chemistry we think we can possibly have. We love the culture as far as it's a bunch of guys that want to be in the gym, want to work hard. We think they're great teammates. A big thing will be we have a lot of players returning off injuries, and just seeing us as we have a chance to get players healthy will be obviously critical, like it is for any team. But if we can get everybody healthy, really, really like the pieces, excited about having an opportunity with Toronto, and that'll be great because not only you're wearing a USA uniform and competing for a gold medal, but a chance to have 10 extra practices and bond, and at that point, hopefully start to form our team.
Can you kind of go over those trips? You've taken them overseas. You just mentioned that one. What really it does bring to the table? Time together, basically, as you mentioned, the bonding, camaraderie part of it?
Yeah, there's a reason the NCAA only allows one every 4 years, and that's because it is an advantage. And we all know when we talk about great teams, we talk about teams that love one another, have good chemistry, play well together. And how is that stuff formed? Normally it's formed through experiences together. And those experiences begin for us in the summertime. Really, you only have a handful of student athletes around for the summer, and you don't have all the distractions with as many classes and activities and other students. So you can really develop those relationships, which are so critical to if a team wins those close games or loses those close games.
So, Coach, I know that event's right around the corner. You'll be playing Italy on July the 5th and then playing Canada the day after and then Brazil as well. How does that kind of work with your roster, given that you do have so many new incoming guys, but also guys that are on the mend, as you said?
Well, the good thing is the guys on the mend, some of them will play, some of them won't play, but all the new players will get a chance to get some experience with a USA Baylor uniform on and with our offense and defensive system. And hopefully that really bodes well to the beginning of the year because when the year comes around, hopefully we have that advantage. In baseball, we're on second base when everyone else is on first.
Scott, we talked to Adam Flagler last week after he made his decision to return. He, especially coming and seeing with guys like Davion Mitchell and Maceo Teague and Jared Butler, who all went through that process, and now he has. What do you see from guys, especially with the work ethic of somebody like Adam, when they come back from the NBA draft process and the combine and the games they got to play with the changes in their work ethic or the things that they work on?
Well, I think anytime you have a chance to work with some other people and gain experience by going against other people and seeing how they work out, and as you know, iron sharpens iron. So when you're dealing with elite players, you find out some areas that you might need to improve in or get better in. I remember when Torian Prince played on the USA team, went to Canada, and the first thing he did when he came back, he's like, I got to get stronger. And then he just started not only spending more time in the weight room on his own, but lifting harder when he was in there, because he knew the importance of that strength, because he had gone against stronger guys than him. And a lot of times you think you might know areas you need to improve in, but after spending time going up against some other people or visiting with NBA personnel, then it becomes more reality of this is what I got to do.
Scott, you know the Matthew Meyer decision, and that was something that was coming. Can you kind of go over the timeline with that? Was that one of those where you had to fill your roster and could not wait any longer, and if Matthew wanted to come back, there would have been room? And your thoughts about him going to play for Brad Underwood in Illinois?
Well, yes, a couple things. The way the timelines are right now, it does make it hard, because if you have 3 or 4 guys trying out for the NBA, then you can't be stuck in a position when you only have 8 or 9 guys on a roster, because a lot of times transfers are making decisions earlier than you have till June 1st. So you can imagine most of the transfer portal is finished by then. So you have to best guess what people are going to do based on your conversations, based on feedback. And in a perfect world, Matt would have been drafted, and we would have had 3 or 4 guys drafted this year. Now that he's going to Illinois, I know we're extremely excited and for him, as far as we want what's best for him. He's going to graduate this first summer session, taking 6 hours. He'll have a Baylor degree. He's won back-to-back conference championships. He's won a Big 12 or national championship, and now he'll have a chance to play in the Big 10. We'll cheer for him every time, as long as we don't face him. Well, so go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. As long as you don't face him.
Yeah. If we face him, then we got to beat him.
Yeah. Would you like to see the NBA has allowed players to dip their toe in the water, and you've had some that could come back and help you win a national title? Would you like to see that length of time before they have to withdraw from the draft moved up? Would that help any, or is that ever gonna move?
Great question. I know every year we're trying to tweak and come up with a better model of what is fair. But like you look with us this year, with James, with Matt, with Adam, with Kendall, with Jeremy. I mean, if you get 5 or 6 guys, you can't wait on them all. So you got to make decisions on what you think people are going to do. And then at the same time, we have really good kids. They tell us what they're thinking. And there's other things that come into play too nowadays. I mean, you have NIL, you have other scenarios and other things that people want to consider. And at the end of the day, based on the knowledge and information we have, we make choices. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But we've been blessed over the years where guys that haven't been able to go have been able to come back and have great opportunities. And again, Matt, hopefully he has a great year and gets his degree first and foremost, has a great year. And like I said, he's done a lot for Baylor University. Nothing but great things to say about him.
Well, Scott, what I wonder is Matthew's gone, Jeremy's in the draft. Who is going to have a ridiculous haircut for you guys now? You got to.
Well, Smokey's going to grow his out.
Yeah. I'm taking medication for that to get that done. How are the sales for Road to Joy?
So far, so good. I know we were on Amazon's bestseller for 1 or 2 of the categories, and then I haven't seen the last one. But I know at one point there was several great honors we had, and that's a tribute to everybody. And hopefully we're building Baylor Nation, as a lot of people have read it and now say they're Baylor fans. So if you know any people out there that you think pass it on to them. At one point, it was #1 basketball biographies, #1 Christian business and professional growth, #7 in Christian self-help, and number 215 overall in Amazon out of about 55 million.
Well, I got a text. We have a text line. I ordered and received the Kindle edition of Road to Joy last night. It is an amazing insight to Coach Drew, his staff, and players. Everyone should read this book. That was a text that we received earlier this afternoon.
That's a great text.
Coach, I saw that Coach Tang was back in town and Coach Driscoll was back in town this last week, weren't they?
Yes, it was great seeing them, and amazing just how our kids, there was a picture, I think Coach Driscoll had Chase and Paxton at like 5 and 8 years old. So, and then Mackenzie and Island were just born, and Seven was barely crawling or walking. So it's amazing how all time flies and how our kids, I know Mackenzie will be at Baylor, and Coach Driscoll, both his kids have graduated from college, and one works for him, and the other is back at home living with them, doing a great job in the business world.
Scott, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, and congratulations on the book. Congratulations on the schedule, and also how you built and rebuilt your roster in some ways. Scott Drew, Hall of Famer in many ways, a national championship coach, co-champions of the Big 12 regular season with the eventual national champions in Kansas. One hell of a conference, the Big 12. Thanks for his time. When we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame NFL writer, next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Memorial Day sales event is here at Allen Samuels in Waco. The new 2022 Impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% for 72 months and $3,000 in bonus cash. That's right, and $3,000 bonus cash. This great incentive on the new 2022 Wagoneers for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395
$5 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with NFL Hall of Fame columnist John McClain. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Here we go. John McClain, Hall of Fame NFL columnist, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. John, we apologize. We had to bump you back because of Scott Drew.
Well, I think I'm going to be bumped back. That's a pretty good guy to be bumped back for. And speaking of Scott Drew, I'm at the Omni Hotel in Houston for the annual Baylor night in Houston for Dave Randa to talk here to a whole lot of Baylor alums. And right now, Dave Aranda and Scott Drew doesn't get much better than that.
Well, absolutely the case. In fact, we had the Touchdown Club executive director, Neil Farmer, on the show to discuss that tonight as well. John McClain, Houston Chronicle, former Houston Chronicle, retired now NFL columnist and Hall of Famer.
John, now that you are retired from the NFL, you can dive more into other things. How are you? How deep are you into the Astros right now in the run that they're on the AL West? It looks like they're going to run away with it to me.
Well, I'm not retired from the NFL. I'm only retired from the Chronicle, and I'm on the air 4 days a week here in Houston, so I have to stay on top of everything, as I always have, especially the Astros, which Astros are my favorite team. I've never tried to hide the fact that I'm a fan since I didn't cover them, but I talk about them on the radio a lot, and they probably wish I didn't, because when they're bad, I get angry, like most fans do, but I have a forum, a platform to take it out on them. But they won 3 in a row, and I've settled down. So, yeah, they got a 4.5 game lead on the Angels. I think people around baseball are tired of the Astros winning the division, going to the playoffs, even the World Series. They'd like to see a new team. And because of Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon and some of the Angels, a lot of people would like to see them win the division, but I don't think it's going to happen because the Astros are not hitting. When the Astros players, almost all of whom are hitting below, way below their career averages, when they crank up the bats to go along with the pitching, there's a good chance they're going to run away with the division.
John, what do you think the odds are of Aaron Donald hanging up his cleats?
Give me a break. Jeez, what? You got to be stupid or naive to buy all that BS about Aaron Donald going to hang it up and at the same time talks about his contract. Give me a break. Aaron Donald, besides being a great player, one of the greatest in history, I'll guarantee you it means a lot to him to have a chance to be the only player in NFL history to be voted NFL Defensive Player of the Year 4 times. He shares that award with J.J. Watt and Lawrence Taylor. And as competitive as he is, as prideful as he is, he would love to win that. And, he'd love to win another Super Bowl. But the odds are against them doing that.
John, have you seen the movie Top Gun Maverick?
I sure have. I saw it on Labor Day. I saw it in a theater where everything was extra loud, and I thought the flying sequences were the best I've ever seen in a movie. And my wife won't go to an IMAX because she gets busy. But some lazy afternoon in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to the IMAX down the street and watch it again. And I feel like I'm right in the middle of the cockpit. I think it cost the producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, $13,000 an hour to be able to use the jets. And they made sure people knew Tom Cruise never touched a control.
Like I said earlier, John, I saw it as well. It's fantastic. Say what you will about him being part of a dangerous religious cult, but the dude knows how to make a movie. I mean, there's not too many bad ones in Tom Cruise's repertoire. You go to IMDb.
Did you see the story last week? Somebody went through every movie he's made and figured up how many times he sprinted in a movie. And it was like 49 out of 52. And they interviewed all these track experts about his sprinting style. They interviewed experts that somehow measured that he hit 23 miles an hour. And it was hilarious reading that story. But it was unprecedented when it came to Tom Cruise. And I've been a fan of his going back to All the Right Moves with Craig T. Nelson when he was a high school football player up in eastern Pennsylvania. And I've been a fan of his a long time. And I'm glad to see him hit it big. This movie was made 4 years ago.
I did not know that it had been, I guess, on hold because of COVID.
They had to do a lot of post-production. Yeah, right, John?
They filmed it in 2018, and I believe it was to their benefit that COVID caused this long delay because it built up the hype.
Yep.
And there haven't been a lot of blockbusters released. You know, there's no big summer blockbusters in May and June anymore, and it's it. And it's making all kinds of money. And you don't have to like Tom Cruise to like it. I think if you're interested in the flying and Top Guns and what it's all about, I think you should go see it. But if you have any kind of motion sickness, take a Dramamine.
John, I did want to ask you real quick about rookie contracts. I mean, Baylor had that record class as far as the number of selections, and two guys still remain unsigned at this point, Tyquan Thornton and J.T. Woods. They were relatively highly drafted. What typically is holding that up at this point?
Language in the contract. It happens every year with some players that come after the first round. It will get done.
One more thing, John. The NFL teams had their rookie camps or whatever you want to call them, and then there's some OTAs, whatever they're called these days. Did anything come out of that at all from the Texans? Anything Lovie Smith say that hit your radar?
Absolutely not. Their OTAs, the mini camp, is the only thing that's mandatory. It's in 2 weeks, 3 days in the middle of the week. Then players are off from the middle of June till probably the middle of July. Coaches don't take off that much. And the only thing I watch at this point of the year, quarterbacks, receivers, and defensive backs, because you can't touch each other. Mm-hmm. They're not wearing pads. And so you look at, you like to watch the receivers, the DBs, and, of course, every time he's on the field, I'm watching Jalen Petrie. And I'm talking him up like crazy down here. Nobody believes me when I already say he looks like a veteran. And he doesn't, but I can say that all I want.
All right, enjoy the night with Baylor at the Omni in Houston at the Galleria. Thanks for your time, buddy.
Sick 'em, guys.
By the way, mandatory minicamp for the Texans, June the 14th, 15th, 16th, then the break, and then they start training camps at the end of July. Coming up, Paul Catalina's Top 5, Sick 'em 365 Radio.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 reasons a 9-game conference schedule is best. We talked about this a little bit with Scott Docterman, and of course the SEC meetings are going on right now, and they're discussing, the 3-6-6 format or the 1-8, I don't know, whatever it is, 1-8 format, which I think would kind of be a mistake. Especially like just from Texas's perspective, you've got, they're coming in, they're going to probably play A&M again, but if it's 1-8, you would think that Texas-Oklahoma outweighs Texas A&M just in if you're going to play same one every year. So then why would the SEC, cut off their nose to spite their face on that one when that's two big marquee games for that's just one of the schools right there.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, that's just one of the schools.
But, I could do that with everybody, but I just use Texas at the top of my mind. Yeah.
You could, yeah. I'm just saying that, Texas won't be the make or break.
No.
We can't have both of those matchups. Well, then let's scrap the whole thing. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Alabama-Auburn, but then you sacrifice, Alabama, who's their secondary, LSU, so you sacrifice that one every year. So you have Georgia, Florida, but you sacrifice Florida, Tennessee. Is that really worth it? Because those are all good rivalries. So here are the top 5 reasons. Number 5, less games versus FCS late in the year for the SEC, or probably in general. But those late year FCS games in the SEC really, really chap my hide. I mean, it's late in the year. All the games are supposed to be exciting.
Yeah, but they've built it up to where their conference schedule is so daunting, and also the way they hype it. And a lot of those games you can have a battering ram, but you can do that in every conference, that they sneak those in at the end and nobody's going to say anything. Although we've seen more people say something now. Like, oh, what about the game with Georgia Southern or whoever it might be, or Tennessee Tech? They've been able to do that. And I would think the home fans would rather those games not be played if they could play another SEC game.
Yeah, I also think if you're a cross-conference rival, if Georgia gets to play Towson in week 11 and Georgia Tech, I mean, if they were on equal footing, but Georgia Tech has to play, North Carolina, then it kind of ticked off that, I'm in a conference game and you're playing one that should have been at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's kind of a gimme week that they've built up in propaganda to the point where we're like, no, because it's so hard. Let them do that. And if it was any other conference, we would slam them mercilessly for doing the same thing, but they get a pass.
Yeah. Number 4, it hasn't hurt the Big 12. It hasn't hurt the Pac-12. It hasn't hurt, who else does it? The 9-game conference schedule.
Pac-12, Big 10, and the Big 12.
Yeah, it hasn't hurt anybody else, so just do it. I mean, I know they're trying to,
you
say
lose
it's
a home
harder,
game.
but
You could lose a home game every other year, right? If you play one more conference game, you lose a home game against the teams we just mentioned that allow you to fill up your stadium with those big, massive stadiums that most of the SEC schools have one more time. That's one thing's financial.
Yeah, I get that, but to me, it hasn't hurt. Has it set the Big Ten back financially?
No.
Okay, then there you go. Number 3, strength of schedule will likely improve unless the conference, somehow falls on hard times. And
everything is cyclical. You can say that like the NBA East used to dominate. Now it could be the West, and then whatever divisions in baseball. It's all cyclical, but this one has been more than cyclical. It's been going on a long time.
Yeah, it has, and it's kind of rigged in their favor. I mean, if this was a pro sports league, then there's a draft to help out. There's no draft. There's no collective bargaining agreement. There's no revenue sharing. I guess there is revenue sharing, but you know what I mean.
No parity schedule. Yeah.
There's no reason for them to not remain this way because it's pretty much been built up and calculatedly built up to be this way. And unless college football as a sport changes dramatically, there's no reason to believe that's going to change anytime soon.
Yep. Number 2, more games against teams fans care about. I mean, I get the FCS thing too, but also maybe it knocks out, not to knock the Group of 5, but some of the Group of 5 games that you wouldn't want to watch either. So, yeah, you get more teams in the region that you care about, that you want to see. You get to see those teams more often as opposed to
how would that hurt and affect those schools that need those games against those teams when they get $1 million?
Well, nothing works out for everybody.
I know.
If you're relying on that to float your athletic budget, then that probably is a warning sign anyways. I know that not everybody can make the money to just be above water all the time, but if you're relying on, we've got to go to LSU and play them to make $2 million to function, then that's problematic that you're in that spot to begin with, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that you're relying that heavily on that game. But yeah, it does float other programs, and I don't know how those programs will deal with that. But nobody really cares about them. I mean, that's the message that I've been sent over and over by a lot of the moves and decisions being made. Are we suddenly going to start pretending like we care about the smaller schools? Because every move that's been made seems to say otherwise.
Well, yeah, I mean, why do you all of a sudden care about the FCS if you don't care about the Pac-12 or the Big 12 if you're the SEC or Big 10? I mean, you're not making moves that are helping out teams that are supposedly on your same level. So
if the Big 12 would have died off, nobody in the SEC or it wouldn't have cared one bit. So we're all of a sudden going to care about Furman.
Yeah.
It's like what Texas, when they said, hey, what about the other teams left behind?
Okay. Screw them. Yeah, I moved on along and just didn't care if they all just, packed up shop and were left, with nothing. They didn't care. They got what they wanted. So, yeah, I'm not going to, for a second, start to believe that they're all that worried about the smaller schools.
Yeah. And number 1, it will increase the likelihood of the expanded playoff because, look, if the SEC has to play 9 games, that means the better teams could lose an extra game, which means that if they do that, then they'll say, well, we need an expanded playoff because we're the best league, and 2 losses in our league means something different than 1 loss in another league. So that means that we would have an increased likelihood of that expanded playoff.
That's more propaganda, too.
Yeah, I know.
Our 2 losses only count as everybody else's 1. They really have just brainwashed the hell out of people.
It is. I'm just trying to get it done however I can. And so if you have to feed into their propaganda to get that done and get it over with, then I'm all for it because that's what they're going to say.
There is no college football playoff, any plan after 2025. So something has to change, and God knows if it will before then.
Well, I've been holding on to this for a while now, but Greg Sankey talking at the meeting says an 18 playoff without automatic qualifiers is something that we would consider. He said the league's been open to the 18 playoff, but again, they all have to be at-large selections. And, of course, that would be the SEC's benefit right there, would be not to have automatic qualifiers because then they could, in theory, send 3-4 teams into half the field of the 18 playoff. But if you do automatic qualifiers, at best they would get maybe 3. So that's why they would not be for automatic qualifiers, but they are in favor of an 18 playoff. And then he also mentioned that the whole idea of an SEC championship, playoff, whatever, basically their own version of the college football playoff. on that, it doesn't sound like it's very much of a likelihood, and it does sound like it's more or less just kind of like saber rattling, if anything. But the possibility of staging its own playoff, Sankey said, according to Ross Dellinger, it was an idea that is still in a folder someplace, and that he doesn't sound serious about the notion. However, there is no CFP plan beyond 2025, so plenty of options are on the table. And he basically said, like, we don't have any other options, so we're trying to come up with options. But I'll maintain that the SEC playoff idea, I think, is just really barking. I think it's like trying to get people to move in the same direction and try to get something done. And that would not crown a national champion. That would crown the SEC champion, which we already have a championship game for. So I guess you'd scrap the championship game, add a couple of teams or add 6 teams, and then do a little tournament. But that doesn't make very much sense because there's no scenario that really makes it make sense because it doesn't make sense. And that's why I'm not taking it all that seriously and don't believe we're going to see that.
There's no freaking way, no matter how big their balls might be or how big they think they are, that they're going to allow one conference with 14 or 20 teams to dictate who is the college football national champion.
Yeah,
there are some schools outside the conference who laugh their asses off at even the idea. But you can do that because right now it's posturing.
Yeah, but if you said, hey, we're the national champion, like did you play Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Florida State, Clemson, did you play? No,
even if you've beaten them 20 times in a row, you can't do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's again, I think it's just him kind of setting the tone.
Alliance to me.
Yeah, it could be. But I think it's just more barking than anything, and said that something sooner rather than later regarding football scheduling will get done. But it looks like they're focusing on the single division model, and not so much what a lot of people have proposed with pods and all this other stuff. I guess in theory there would be pods because you'd have your 1 or your 3 regular opponents. So in theory there's pods, but looking like a single division model, that's the direction they're moving towards. So a lot coming out of the SEC meetings.
All right, thanks to Emery Winter, Levi Carraway, Jack McKenzie, Garrett Ross runs the mothership, Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak, our sponsors every day, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Hope you enjoyed our guest list today. We'll come back with more tomorrow. I'm David Smoak. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.